Hello, welcome everybody to Plat VALORANT episode 179. It's been a while since we've been with you because we've been doing the co-stream of Masters Shanghai. And so myself and Bala, who were there in Korea, are joined today by Achilles and Wide Mimi.
Hello.
What are you doing?
I broke my camera in Shanghai.
Oh, no.
So this is my new setup. By the way, I have to cast Game Changers tomorrow, so I think I'm going to look really professional.
Wait, so
That's
is that
really
your is that just your broken camera? Is it the lens?
No, this is my new camera. I got it in China. The guy who sold it to me said it was really good, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm enjoying it. It's a very nice, it's got a different lens, I think.
Is my audio good, by the way? Because I changed that setup a little bit, too. So I just wanted to make sure that sounded good.
Very good.
Oh,
It's
your
been
audio's
perfect.
wonderful.
Here, I heard if I went like, "What is up, Plat Chat Nation?" I heard that sounds really good.
Oh, God.
Could you please take it off your webcam mic? Could you please put it off your webcam
Let me
mic?
try this one second.
Honestly, for a webcam mic, it's not even that bad. Like,
It's
I'm not
pretty
a webcam
horrible.
mic,
Just
so
wait
I'm
till she
pretty
switches
bad.
it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
how's
It's
that?
pretty bad.
I
I can't hear
Oh.
you now. You sound like a little mouse.
Little mouse? Little mouse, little mouse?
Here,
let's... Lamouse?
Is that your,
Okay,
is that
there
your
we
rap
go.
name, Lil Mouse?
There we go.
That's my rap
Lovely.
name, yes.
Well, I want to hear things from the ground. How were things in Shanghai?
I'm trying to unwide myself, so Seth... Oh, God.
She's simply enormous.
um,
Seth, how was your time in Shanghai?
oh,
It was great. You know, third time over, it's always great. It's a gorgeous city. So going around the bun and everything, being able to have my wife come over and visit because she doesn't often join me on my casting trips and
Yes.
whatnot. So having her come over, that was a breath of fresh air. But it was just a good time, good food. You know, always fun to hang out with the crew. I was still. It was weird because I'm at an event, but I was still having severe FOMO because y'all were in Korea, an hour away from my house.
Going to your
Yes.
favorite
Like,
bar
there was just-
every night.
Yeah, you're going to Feather, and there's just these moments where I'm like, I just wish that I was there at the same time. So it was a really weird, push and pull on my heartstrings. But it was a really good time.
it was so long. It was so long. I feel like I've come home from the war. And don't get me wrong, the event was fun. It was really good, but it was just like the schedule this year is just crazy. I'm just imagining Gen.G. They're gonna be playing in like 2 days now. I came home
That's
and there was
so
2 days where I
bonkers.
wasn't even a human being. I was so just like jet lagged and like destroyed from just the travel alone. I can't imagine having played all that time. So yeah, I mean, it was a fun event. I think we got some really cool storylines to culminate at the end. But it's definitely a tough year to be a top team. That's my
Yeah.
biggest reflection from coming home.
At least Gen.G are not actually going to be jet lagged, and at least they weren't scrimming during the event that much, by the sound of things. So
Yeah.
I mean, the
wasn't
replacement
really
is ranked, so I think maybe it's taking a deeper toll than scrimming at the same time.
It looks like it. I just. Oh,
Dude,
whoa. I
dude,
just
there's-
flickered like crazy.
there's
I just kicked my capture card. And I was like, something's about to go very wrong there. All right, I'm keeping my feet to myself from now on. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out as well. Thank you to all of the people that watched the co-stream and became members throughout. If you're tuning in today and you're like, wait, what? Plat Chat was co-streaming? Yeah, you can check it out. They're in the playlist over on the Shanghai VODs playlist if you go to the playlist part of our channel. And
Yeah, there's
and
the
a
opposite
special-
too. If you're tuning in right now and you were just a viewer of the co-stream, and you're like, "What the fuck is this podcast?" That's what we do.
Oh, there goes the money. Thank God for the members during the
I-
co-stream.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
we're just about
Owned it.
50 seconds off.
Exactly. Thank you to the members in particular, because we hit a lot of our member goals. And also, if you are a member or if you're thinking about it, you can spam balls in the chat or any of the GERT emotes or stuff like that while the podcast happens.
Also,
Did
and you can
guys
also see our
actually release
yeah.
the unreleased, the one where
Yes.
I was drunk
Yep.
and producing it from my laptop.
Yep.
And
Oh,
I watched this
boy.
back. It is so good, Josh. I don't know what you're talking about. This shit is so good.
It's very silly.
We're
I mean,
just
look at the production.
I was there, and I remember you guys disappearing to film this, and then you came back, and you all looked like you had witnessed like a murder. Like you were just And I couldn't comprehend what had gone on within the confines of that room, and then I finally been able to watch it.
A murder. Like, bro, we thought we ended Plat Chat. We thought it was over. It was the worst episode of all time.
That was also the episode where we were talking about the turret bug, and we were like, if we release this, I don't know what's gonna happen, because there was some spicy takes in that episode. Also, I think there was 4 moments where the stream stopped and we came back with just like a cornucopia of room service food spewed out across the thing.
Dude, I'm loving the comments. I won't say which things are not actually leaks, but we leaked so much shit. And everybody's like, burn out Gaib! Burn out Gaib! He knew before! How is it possible? We're fucking leaking shit left and right. It is amazing.
I mean, that's why we don't drink. I mean, that's why most of us don't drink while we do the episode. I can say that. Well, what are you? I'm not. Whoa, I'm not. I'll put my hands up as if I go poor, but it's...
Seth, what you got there, buddy?
Seth?
I have an empty cup. I haven't had anything.
Wow. See, we're being responsible people today. But you know what? It's a good job that we had members earlier on because Bala swore, but it's also a good job that this is a sponsored episode as well. A shout out to Factor Meals who are sponsoring episode 179. You can use code Valorant50 for 50% off if you go to factormeals.com/Valorant50. And what are they providing? It's basically no prep, no mess meals. If you have a busy life or if you spend all of your time watching Valorant and you should be doing other things and you really just can't be bothered cooking for yourself. Listen, that's a way to live your life. You should probably fix it at some point, but we're not going to do it right now, are we? So let's guzzle down either. Listen, your 2 choices are you're going to pay way too much for takeout, as you always do, or you can get food that you've pre-planned in advance that's way healthier for you, that doesn't take any time to prepare either, and it's so much cheaper, especially when you get half off. Again, using code Valorant50 for 50% off. They have 35 different meals, more than 60 add-ons to choose from every single week. You can do this if you wanted to set some kind of like calorie goals for yourself, or you can just have restaurant quality meals that you throw into the microwave or heat up on the hob or something in order to stuff them down your gullet. So there you go. You have menu preferences with keto, protein intake, all of that kind of stuff. So go to factormeals.com/Valorant50 and use code Valorant50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. Code Valorant50 at factormeals.com/Valorant50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
This whole thing felt like a direct attack on my lifestyle.
Exactly. No, that's the reason why it's such a perfect sponsor, is because actually it's me reading it out thinking, oh, it me.
That's a good idea, actually.
I probably should make some changes in how much I spend on takeout.
If I didn't have code Valorant50, this would be my meal.
No.
Wingman and some peas.
Is that the goopy one from the green
room?
Room?
One? No, I didn't steal. I didn't steal this from my employer. I bought this one, but it is the little guy.
Sorry,
this is the best piece of merchandise.
There's a bit of an in joke there that I'm not missing. Why is there a goopy mosh in the green room? What y'all been doing in Shanghai?
One of these, let's just say, was leaking.
What? Yeah. There isn't even stuff in there to leak, is there? Isn't it?
It's not a foam stress ball. It's like a gel filled one. So
it's like a water bed.
Mimi played with it so much that the seal on the bottom started breaking.
I broke the Riot Games one, and then I bought my own, which I didn't break.
And she just openly and just like, and no one was paying attention to her playing with the thing. She was just in the side of the room, and she just went, "Oh, the mosh is gooping." And we all just turned to her like, "What the fuck?"
And he was.
If it autonomously started gooping by itself.
Autonomous gooping is the future tech bros want.
Yep, and unfortunately, as much as I didn't want this episode to just become one of our Oh my god, the Freudian slip is unbelievable. One of our co-stream discussions, it has become that.
Wait,
oh, the Freudian slip's just
okay,
too hard.
Shelkinson. Dude.
Okay, I want to move on. I want to move on. For God's sake, let me salvage this. Let's talk about the winner. I want to go kind of backwards a little bit, but I want to start here. Achilles, you said earlier that it was, your heartstrings were being torn a little bit in Shanghai, but my God, the salve that this must have provided for APAC to lift their first trophy at the end of Shanghai.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was coming. I think we all knew it was coming by the time we got into Split. You know, not even halfway. It was just like, oh, there's just no way that they're going to be able to throw this. There's no way that Heretics get themselves back into it. You could tell how much Gen.G wanted it. And I sprinted out to the arena at halftime. I watched the whole rest of that map. Wasn't much of it in that second half to watch. And then just literally, I picked up Paper Thin. I spun him around, dropped him, screamed, and then fell to my goddamn knees. Like the roller coaster, the wave of emotion, it all hit me at once, and I've been bricked ever since. I need to consult a doctor. It hasn't gone down. It's still there. Luckily, I have the camera angled a little bit higher today. It's just, what a feeling. And it's going to happen again at Champs, and I can't fucking wait.
Hot take, wrong, but also great event for Gen.G. I mean, the grand finals kind of proved to me, not actually the grand finals, everything up to it, the G2 game before that, how things went for them overall since the Swiss stage was just a complete shift. Everybody played fantastic. Texture still looks like the best or one of the best players in the world easily, and it's a Pacific player, which is awesome. And then Meteor, dude, is playing so well on this. I never expected him to be good on this role, but here he is, just dominating, maybe the best in that regard.
Yeah. The amount of like comeback stories on this team are really crazy to me. Texture from being with GE, he was getting put onto like Sentinel roles, looked like the worst. Well, I guess there's some other bad teams in Pacific, but one of the worst teams in Pacific when he was playing there. Karan, who had never played a pro match before this year. Lakia, who was at the first ever event, went on a great run for Korea, gets put in contract jail, can't even make it back up through Ascension. And then Munchkin, whose like stocks were so low as an IGL after T1. Like every one of these guys, I feel like have had a massive turnaround. It even extends to like the coaching staff. HSK, the guy who built this team, was the coach of fucking DFM last year. The team who didn't win a match in Pacific. And now all these guys somehow, some way have turned it around, and they're 10-1. They've only lost one match at global events this year, which was the finals to Sentinels in Madrid. They are clearly looking like the best team in the world right now. They're playing some great Valorant. It's such a cool journey for these guys, and it feels like that perfect team to find the first trophy for an Asian squad.
Yeah. What surprises me looking back on things is that it was Gen.G that ended up getting to this point after we saw DRX many tournaments in a row looking like they were going to eventually have one where they broke through. And PaperX, I think, would have been the favorites even to win this one, probably, for most people coming in. So a lot of people wanted it to be, or thought it would be, an APAC trophy, but the fact that it's Gen.G making a finals and then winning one in a year where, again, most of their players have not accomplished very much in the past. Even the player that we've thought was the best out of the bunch, Texture, has not really accomplished much in his career prior to this year. But what an incredible glow-up. I think this should really show people that even if you're like thinking about retiring and your career's in the dumps, if you find a good opportunity with a good group of players that all want it as much as you do, it is actually possible. Like it's really possible to win. It's the gap between the good players and the bad players is not that enormous. It's more to do with how you actually play together.
I mean, but it's also the players aren't bad.
No, not by any means. No.
Josh,
but they
you
have
can't
looked
win
that way
Masters.
in the past. No, I can't win Masters. That's absolutely true. But if you think about like what Paditek was saying, where he was saying that he was thinking about retiring before he joined the team this year, I think. You know, like these players you would have just thought were down and out, basically. Who would have thought that Lucky would really be given like another chance after having a bit of a flop in tier 2 as well? And then to see them have such resurgence, I think, yeah, it makes me believe that a lot of players have more potential in them than they've been able to access.
It's almost like we need even more teams than we have globally. There's so much talent. Yeah, it's crazy. I never would have expected Lakia to bounce back, and we've actually seen kind of the opposite for some other players too. So yeah, it's very, very surprising that. I mean, this is what happens. I think you find a squad that really gels, that has the same ambitions and Here they are, actually potentially going to make a run at the best team ever in Valorant. Like that's the thing we're talking about here at the end of champs is if they make another top 2, another grand finals, if they win champs, I mean it's bar none easily going to be the best team ever, right? So
yeah, no one's
like,
ever
they have an
made-
opportunity.
No one's ever made a run like that where they finish, winning multiple events whilst also finishing super highly in one of the previous
Yeah.
ones too.
Because even like
I mean-
Fnatic, the year they went on their run, they had the blip at the end of Champions, only made top 4. Like I think they're the only team that you can kind of consider in that same ballpark of
Oh, I
like,
mean Optic
greatest
too,
years.
right?
Sure,
First,
sure.
third,
But even
second,
they
like,
had like one lower placement. If Gen.G could make another final at Champs, even win
oh,
it.
they
Also,
didn't, though.
it would be the what?
Optic gets fucking slept on so much, but it was a first, third at Copenhagen, and then a second at champs. Like
Yeah.
that shit is
Yeah, that's
fucking
fair.
crazy.
You have to win twice in order to overtake them, basically.
Yes.
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 Even if they
Overtake
made the
Fnatic
grand
too.
finals again. Yeah. I mean,
But
I
also-
wanted to ask you. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say how fucking hype that is if they win in Korea. Holy shit! Have we ever had a defending champion into like their home country before? I don't think we have.
Loud.
Loud? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Loud Lock-in, and it got stolen away from them. But if
Yeah.
they could be the first team to actually pull it off and win it, that's just like goated storyline.
I wanted to ask you, do you think that Gen.G are the best team of the year so far? Is that fairly simple?
Yes.
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 I think
Okay.
it's inarguable.
Yeah. Do you think that they're playing the best Valorant that you've ever seen a team play? That's another question too, because a lot of the community was talking about the beginning of this tournament being very sloppy. And I said to people at the time when we were doing the co-stream, you only remember the ends of events, guys. Like when you compare, when you're watching the start of Shanghai and you're watching the Swiss stage and you're comparing it to your memory of Madrid, you ain't remembering the beginning games of Madrid. You're just not. You're remembering the end. You're remembering the big moments, the clashes of the top teams. So I think people always have that kind of inherent, this isn't quite as good as what we've seen before
Sure.
until the event's over. And then you get to think like, that final that we watched, Gen.G Heretics, that was pretty insane level Valorant. What do you think about that? Do you think we're watching something special?
I think we are, but I think a lot of people would be inclined to say that this isn't like the best Valorant that they've seen. But I also think that the type of Valorant that we're seeing right now is kind of like a product of the meta that we're in. Whereas before, like I'm thinking of like the the DRX era, like super clean execs and all of this kind of stuff. Like this is a bit more, there's a bit more sloppy, a bit more brawly what we're seeing. But I would say like, especially in the final, yeah, I think Gen.G they hit their stride. But their last several series, like from 100 Thieves basically onward, I think it was pretty damn pristine. Some stumbles in the final itself, but those last 2 maps were just absolute fucking masterclasses at their hands.
Go ahead, Mimi.
I was gonna say I think the things that you would make the argument for them like having like the best Valorant right now is first off like looking at like what ideas do they have that like other teams are picking up, like what ideas are they leading in, and I think like they've been the defining team on Breeze early this year on Icebox too with their comps there, kind of being an early pusher of the KO Gecko stuff on their Breeze being like the first real team to push like the Astra ideas that a lot of people are picking up there. And on the other comps where they're playing just like default meta stuff that everyone's been playing, they implement on it really well. But I still find it hard to say they're playing the best Valorant we've ever seen. And what really sticks with me is just that I think they're in the best form of any team right now. A lot of their ideas I think are pretty simple, pretty exec heavy. They're a pretty fast team. I think in a lot of ways, like if I were to reflect on this tournament as a whole, the team who I would look at with like some of the best like mid-rounding and IGLing and like adaptation throughout might honestly be Team Heretics with how much they grew through this event. But I think Gen.G had great resilience. I think that they play their ideas, even if some of it is more simple, incredibly well. The coordination between players is on point, and the form they're in is incredible. So I think form-wise, they are bar none the best team right now in the world. But I'm still hard pressed to say that they're playing the best Valorant we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a weird place right now where it's actually kind of hard to appreciate like the intricacies of good Valorant. Just the way that we're at in the meta. It's hard to quantify exactly why. I think it's mostly because like the double initiator type of stuff is less info based than it has been in the past and more quick little bursts, microplay type of stuff that only like, I don't know, it's not like super macro that a lot of people appreciate. with that said, I struggle to see a place where if the metas were matched, they beat EG last year or they beat Fnatic last year at their peaks. And I don't know if that's crazy, but maybe it's me rose tinted glasses and also having issues with the thing that I just said about like appreciating the meta right now. But to me, it's very high level individual play. But I think both of those teams last year had that. I think it's fantastic synergy, fantastic team play, fantastic fundamentals. But again, I think both those teams had that. And then on top of that, like, yeah, I'm not going to say that it's bad or anything like that. I think the execute heavy style is fine. But I also think that all those teams last year were really, really, really good at it. And for some reason, they're just not able to actually implement the same thing this year in the meta. And Gen.G is. So, like, I don't want to take it away from them, but I think in terms of, like, best Valorant ever, I don't think they're there. I think they could be, but I don't think they're there.
When I'm watching, I was thinking about this question recently, which is why I'm kind of asking it to you lot as well. I personally feel like it is. I feel like what happens when you watch Valorant a lot is that if you think back to like the beginning of the game, very simple ideas won whole rounds. And I think that to some degree last year as well, the slower pace of the game, the way that teams were feeling each other out, I think that generally teams had like a couple big ideas that ended up winning them rounds. Whereas now I feel like I'm watching these games, their final in particular, and like both teams are trying out a thing, it doesn't quite work, they have another thing prepped on the other side of the map, they have a plan B that they go back to, there's so much going on, but the other team's trying to disrupt it all the time as well. And I feel like that little game of like noticing what your opponents are going to do and trying to disrupt it is happening a lot more now as people understand win cons too, rather than just letting them get away with their big alt exec. You know, they have a lot of ults, so let's give them all the map control in the world, and then they're going to exec on us. Like these kind of things, I feel like getting like teams are much better at shutting down other people's ideas, and so it ends up with like you have to stack so many different ideas on top of each other just to get a round win at the moment. I feel like that's part of the reason why it feels muddy too.
The top teams I feel like they've always been doing that. To a certain extent, like especially last year,
they've been trying. But I think last year in particular, when you think about like the way that EG and Fnatic were playing, one of the things that we were praising them for, one of the things we were praising EG for them, right, was actually deciding to go for things in like eco situations and invest in ultimates. Like they were actually that was like a revolutionary concept.
Like you're thinking about like all their like ult combo plays and stuff that they were.
And that kind of stuff. Whereas I feel like the idea of that is now actually fairly standard. Like a lot of the teams are going for that, and you feel like you're behind the meta if you're not going along that kind of avenue. It feels like to me teams have got much more in their repertoire. Like I think Heretics have got the biggest strat book I've ever seen in other team in Valorant, and they lost. To me,
but do you think they lost because of the strat book or being like out countered by Gen.G, or like? Because I feel like a lot of it came down to not just that, but like depth at the end of the day and mental a little bit crumbling towards the end of that final. Because for me, I feel like that was more important. And more important, if I were to kind of take the moment before we saw Heretics and Gen.G play in that finals, and if I was just looking at like the quality of Valorant played and the amount of ideas and like how like good I feel like this team is or could be, if we're excluding those like kind of extra outside of the server things, I think I would clearly say that Heretics is playing the best Valorant at that event.
Yeah, and that is fair. I mean, when you talk about teams' performances, there's a lot more that goes into it than just your ideas and
sure,
whether or not you have a good plan for the round. And definitely Gen.G have improved in that department. Think about them in map 5 of Madrid, the Icebox, where Zelsis is just clowning on them because he knows that he's won the game, and Gen.G are already out of it. The mental resilience they showcased in this series, another map 5, where they had to make a comeback happen on the final 2 maps and just wipe the floor with Heretics. I mean, Heretics were not in it the final 2 maps. Gen.G, I mean, you said, Seth, that you knew they'd won at the beginning of Split, but after they made like 12 rounds in a row happen on Lotus as well, that felt like, you know, it really is kind of over here, boys.
I mean, yes, but I've also seen them do similar things in Pacific and then still lose the series. Like when they played versus Paper X, they were able to, you know, there's that batshit crazy ace that Texture pulled off on C site versus PRX. And then they won that map, and then they went on to lose the other maps versus Paper X. So like I've seen them have that like that heat up moment and just look utterly dominant and then kind of fizzle out. And given that I hadn't seen their split since they lost to Paper X in the grand final of stage 1, I wasn't sure what to expect. So I wasn't feeling the most comfortable, even though Yinsu and Kakuka were just collectively just crapping themselves in the green room saying like their split is bad and they're going to lose. I didn't buy into it. I didn't trust like that. So I had to wait and see. I mean, but to me, like the Lotus, this was kind of like this was very much like just solid reads from Munchkin, really understanding like how Heretics were going to come at this. Because I mean, again, like, you know, Heretics, they start off 3-0, they get the bonus conversion, and then Gen.G just starts stomping on them. Read after read, the massive like C's nade into B main, just the perfect understanding of exactly where Heretics were going to play, like basically at every twist and turn was great. And then the crumble started in the like the latter half of this map and then carried over into split.
Am I crazy for thinking that the playstyle that's taken shape for most of the best teams, I'm thinking Gen.G, I'm thinking Sentinels, I'm kind of adding Heretics in here, but I feel like they're slightly different. Is the playstyle that's taken shape actually just the Paper X playstyle, in the sense that like it's all like little small ideas getting added up with fantastic execution, fantastic chemistry, fantastic timing, and just, I don't know, being implemented finally on other teams?
Sure. I think that's fair to say. I think the difference is when people think of like what makes Paper X, it's how unique the combos they do are, and how there's like comps that clearly have a hole, like you're playing like a double duelist, no sentinel on ascent or something crazy like that.
Yeah, sure.
And you're sacrificing a lot to go all in on that identity. I think the top teams have found the balance of what makes Paper X great, of like having those util combos, knowing when to use them, having super high level synergy, and of course just like great individuals, and have balanced that out with also having comps that are like fundamentally sound even outside those ideas, which I think is the difference. But I think that I agree with you. They have taken a lot of what makes Paper X great,
The like microplay
and
stuff.
grown off that. Yeah, which I
Yeah.
think is super important right now, especially in this meta. Like I think we'd probably agree that the comp that has defined the year thus far, like the synergy that's defined the year, is KO Gecko and like similar combos. 100 Thieves with like their Fade Gecko stuff. I think all of that is very, in a way, kind of Paper X-esque, where you're building off like these little combos, these little alt plays. But I think what further defines it is still the actual like mid-rounding and when you can change the pace and not just 100% all in on those ideas.
One of the other things that defines the meta at the moment, I think, is that a lot of the initiators are like scaling initiators, where you util dump, but then you scale with the util that you've thrown out. Whereas in the past, we had, I mean, I don't know what you'd necessarily call them, but they're like non-scaling initiators, where you're a Sova at the back and you're throwing in a dart, and you don't scale with the dart, you throw it for somebody else, or a breach that flashes for somebody else, or a Sky that dogs for somebody else. Whereas at the moment, you're mostly running a lot of initiators that you scale off your own utility, or at least you can. Stuff like the KO, stuff like the Gecko, stuff like the Fade, where you throw it and then you actually are part of the pack that goes in. And I think that's made a massive difference to the way the Valorant's played.
The initiator role is way more active than it used to be.
It is. And it's ruined some players too.
Yeah, and I think that's also been reflected in when you look at the top teams from this event. A lot of the players you're kind of walking away from being really impressed by are the people who are playing initiator. I think like in that final, like if Rien's and Patatek for Team Heretics weren't as good as they were throughout that tournament, if their util usage wasn't on point, Woot would have never looked like the star he was. I think it's the same extent true of like Blockia finding his form again in a lot of the right moments. So
then who do you think the MVP of the tournament was? That's another question I wanted to ask you all. Is it somebody on Gen.G? I would assume it is, but who would you go for as MVP?
We did talk about this, so I don't know if your answer has changed, Mimi, but we talked about this a little bit on the analyst desk at the end. And I was on the fence, but ultimately I gave it to Munchkin because the calling on the last two maps to be able to close out the series and keep them afloat was just so perfect. And it's similar to what you're just talking about with, like, you know, Rien's and Patatek and whatnot, like putting Woot into those positions to succeed. Munchkin's calling, like putting Texture in these positions to be able to just go off, you know, like that double escape attempt on split where I forget which two players it was. I think it was like Gen.G fishing somebody else, and they're trying to drop out into vents because they know that they have to just hold on to their rifles, and then Texture is just perfectly poised, sat within the vent, hears them rotating, and then he's able to kill them. Ensuring that they carry nothing forward into the next round. Like Munchkin's calling was just absolutely gorgeous, and I think that without him having the reads, without the amount of studying that he was putting into it, that series could have ended up getting away from him.
For me, Woot had the easiest road to MVP. He was so fucking good throughout the tournament. And no one could argue that without the performance he had, Team Heretics could have went on the run that they did. I think all he had to do to be the clear number 1 MVP was keep that performance into the final. I think even if they lost, then it's like, sure, none of this would have happened without him. But he struggled a little more in that final, couldn't really step up to the same level when it counts. So I think that, for me, is kind of the reason I wouldn't give it to him, even though I think if you're discounting the final, was clearly the best player of this tournament. But for Gen.G, I think it's kind of a toss-up for me between Texture and Meteor. Meteor was so good this entire time. I think his pretty flexible agent pool is really important to the team. I think his performance is ridiculous. He gets asked so much. Texture has all these tools to set him up. They have so many plans built around him with very specific initiator utility, with the Astra stuff when they're playing on their breeds, all these things. But Meteor, so much of the time, is solo anchoring a site, buying time for rotations, and like getting 2 every time. So I almost might give the nod to him.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was the cause of the like inciting incident to Heretics' unravel with that Sheriff 2 piece that he picks up in Mound,
Yeah.
and then they just don't win. And like they win what 4 collective rounds for the whole rest of the series after that one moment. He's been playing so completely well, but this is one of those ones where I feel like you could just about give it the damn near anybody on Gen.G. I think that you could make the nod for Woot, but not without them securing the victory. It's hard to do that, especially given that he was like fairly suppressed in that series.
I mean, I think overall, bro, they went through a tough Swiss stage. They has to do a role swap. I think overall, with context, I give the MVP of the tournament to Woot. With that said, I think easily, if I do a finals MVP, it's going to Meteor, right? But I think Woot's situation is just so unique that, yeah, with the sub as well, somebody taking his other role and like having to force himself on Duelist, a role that he doesn't even like. With context, I struggle to give it to Woot. With just gameplay, yeah, okay, maybe. Or sorry, I struggle not to give it to Woot. With just gameplay, the argument's a little bit tougher with the finals performance, but it's not like he choked in the finals.
No.
Not at all.
I mean,
I think it was
Go
just-
ahead.
don't know
I
about
didn't
that
choke in
take.
the finals.
I don't know about that
wait,
take, but
wait,
listen,
Jesus.
we're going to talk about Heretics later on. So I do want to move things along because we do have to make this a somewhat a moving display here. And I want to talk about the other APAC team who were probably the favorites for the entire tournament, which is PaperX. And they had a far worse performance than people would have expected. Did they lose to a terrible team at the end? No, they lost to 100 Thieves, who were the number 1 seed coming out of Americas. But compared to what people wanted from PaperX, this was not quite it. So what happened, Achilleos, compared to what you're used to seeing from this team, compared to what we all saw from them playing in stage 1, what was missing?
It's really hard to nail down because this is a team that in the past has never really, not never, but it feels like they don't really let nerves get to them too much. But it kind of felt like, just watching from the outside, that was something that was kind of affecting them. I mean, to be able to come into this tournament and only pick up a win versus EDG, and then, yeah, sure, to like some close series, they pick up map wins versus 100 Thieves in G2, but then to just get eliminated like that, it felt like they were getting shaken up quite a bit. Discipline was lacking. There was a lot of just, I'm gonna aim diff him, swing a corner, and then just get absolutely shit on, like it just over and over again. So it just felt like some overconfidence with it, which then led to perhaps some nerves coming through. Alex feeling like, and this is just from observation, didn't talk to him about it, but it just seemed like Alex felt like at a certain point, like there's nothing more I can do. Like we saw just how defeated he looked. He had already intervened, twice in the first half. Couldn't get things to come together. They weren't correcting their mistakes. They weren't, fixing things. I mean, the double swings that were coming through, the collat that was found with them versus 100 Thieves here on this map, the Asana clutch, like all of these things easily avoided, but just kept continuously happening.
Yeah.
Here it is. I saw this one happening in slow motion, called it out
Yeah.
before it even happened, and then it happened before my very eyes. And it's just, this is not stuff that we were really seeing from them in Pacific. Like, we did have like the hot start from them, you know, when they came out and they got like the 13-0. And then proceeded to like drop a map and then struggle to close out the rest of the series, but they were still able to get the wins. So it seemed like they, you know, they did have like a moment where they'd overheat themselves after a map, and then it took them a while to cool off a little bit and get their heads back on straight. But this was just a complete and utter different look from the team, and I don't really know like what the hell.
I think they
kind
kinda
of only
just
hope
got-
that they have their shit together.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to both America's teams who were looking in good form. And watching both those games, I feel like they were getting exposed by teams who had better discipline than them. Both G2 and 100 Thieves do a
Mhm.
really good job of you know, playing slow, taking their time, like finding those right double swings and only going for the aggressive stuff when they need it. And we saw repeatedly, like PaperX was taking a bunch of individual risks, or they were like going for a fight off one piece of util. And both 100 Thieves and G2, I think, did a really good job of avoiding that initial piece of utility and finding a double swing to swing back in and punish an individual. From PaperX, pound for pound, I think a lot of the players are better just with aim and like raw mechanics and all that than like the guys on G2. But I think they really got beaten as a team, and they were taking too many liberties that let this match slip.
The bind against G2 was disgusting. I never want to see anything like that ever again in my life. It was like, because for me, PaperX looked good on their Split and Sunset, but I was expecting them to come into Shanghai and actually be able to go toe-to-toe with people on maps like Bind and maybe even Ascent. Maps where normally the comps that they play wouldn't work, but because of the unorthodox way that they play and the way that they catch people off guard and that kind of stuff, they would. And yet they weren't confident in some of the comps. They were changing them at the last moment. Something didn't look great on the Reyna when he ended up playing it, but this was disgustingly bad. Their defense, when they were just running it down over and over again, every single round at the beginning. I mean, I was talking to the 100 Thieves coach in an interview, and Zix said, I mean, G2's game plan was just, we're going to sit there for the first 15 seconds and let them feed into us. Like, it actually, the game plan didn't even need to be much better than that, and it beat PaperX. That should never happen.
And that's not even a round
such a
over
basic thing.
Yeah, that's not even like a round over round read on what your opponents are going to do. That's just like that's a very macro approach of just default back and let them.
They pushed sand like 5 times at the start of the round and just got eaten alive. Like, guys, come on.
It felt like when I was watching, like in Madrid, that split game where Benji Fish was just holding down the A site and they just kept going into him and he just kept picking people apart. It felt like that all over again, but to a significantly worse degree. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it felt like they came in with a lot of confidence, and then as soon as that confidence got pushed back on, like it was like a child who had never been told no before, and then an adult finally said like, "No, you can't do that," and then they were like, "But what do I do?"
Yeah, no,
but I want to do the thing.
I mean, actually, that's so true in my opinion. I think that they go into this. Number one, they picked G2. We have to remember that. They picked G2
so
first.
funny.
And I think that this is them thinking so hard about remember there's actually a little bit of drama with MCE versus PaperX last year, bringing back up the old guard stuff, right? And this is that team minus 2 at this point, with the same IGL, the same style coming out from G2 as the guard did way back when. And you know what they did? The G2, the game plan, exactly the fucking same thing that they tried to do against PaperX back in Reykjavik 2022. Exactly the same thing. They just sat there way back by the barriers, 15 seconds, and then PaperX would push them. You know what happened back then? PaperX shit on them. It's like, oh, I'm on the angle. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well this crossfire is going. They just shit on them. But it was the right idea. It was the right play. It was all the way back then still the right idea, and it still is today. And I think that boomed the fuck out of them, the living shit out of them. So when they played EDG in the lower bracket, and EDG is like playing slow as fuck, but also not doing anything with the space or anything, they absolutely just destroy them. And that's what I think that they were expecting to go up against the G2, and it didn't, and that boomed them for the rest of the event. Like, they're changing comps. They They don't really feel comfortable doing this sort of thing that they were doing because they were getting picked apart so frequently by G2. It's
Yeah.
You end up getting that 100 Thieves series, and all their identity is gone, right? Like they are not peaking well together. They're constantly just mistimed peaks, solo peaks sometimes when you like Jing swinging when he expects other people behind him, and that's the sort of thing that Paper X is goated at. And if you don't have that, then you don't have Paper X. And
Yeah.
So,
This
Do you
feels like
think-
to me like sorry, Josh. This feels
No,
like
go
to
on.
me 1940 Chicago. Al Capone has finally been caught. He's finally gone to jail after fucking troublemaking for far too long. Did he get caught for the things you thought he would? Playing bad comps with holes, not having ideas that are like fully fleshed out when rounds get super like no, he got caught for tax evasion. And the tax evasion here was going for the same shit, going super aggressive and going for fights, but not having the individuals be up to the same level, right? Teams have caught up with them. 100 Thieves, G2, they both have fucking shooters. And even if it is that same game plan they did years ago, Paper X are still, it might be different util combos, it might be slightly different ideas, but it is fundamentally the same style of Valorant. And I think both G2 and 100 Thieves showed that there is a very clear way to beat that. And it makes me wonder, like, is Paper X gonna have more depth to show to do better at champions? Because I think this is the time where they're gonna have to reinvent themselves a little. I honestly don't.
How
think
long have
that
we been saying that for? We've been
we
saying
have,
that for
but
ages.
they're gonna get him in jail this time. I promise. They're gonna keep him locked up. He's not escaping Alcatraz. He's gone.
Okay.
Al
Do you
Capone,
think?
famously known for running it down with Harbor Reina.
Yes, he did that.
Do you think that this team is going to, so if some of it is to do with the form and the feel and the like confidence that they have in their identity, do you think that there is a chance that they can just bounce back and win another tournament? Do you think there's a world in which they get to champs or a tournament next year or something like that, and they just have that run of all being on and they lift the trophy? Can this team in its current state lift the trophy?
Nope.
Nope. Look, and the
I
thing
mean-
is too, when you think about champs last year, the
Achilles
finals-
can't bring himself to say it. Listen, you don't have to say no just because the others have said no. You can stick
No.
with your belief as well. It was just paining you.
I think the honest answer is yes, but it's so unlikely because it's basically a stars aligning.
Well, sure. What are you talking
moment
about?
where,
The
like,
fucking
everybody has
randomness
to
of
just pop
Valorant,
the-
like, but
I mean, DFM could lift a trophy.
No, DFM could not lift the trophy.
That one's
No.
no. That one's a hard no at this point. But like Paper X, like if everybody came out and they had like the top level performance of what we know each of these players are capable of, they're nailing all of their shots. Like, yeah, I think that they can win a trophy.
I tell
But
you
do I
when
see
that
Do I
happens?
see that happening?
can I tell you?
No.
Champions 2023, Copenhagen 2022, and then what happens?
Well, we can't bring Copenhagen in because something wasn't on the team. So we got to go with just last
What
year.
are we
and
talking
then
about?
that
Wait,
was-
they're
we-
still
we-
playing the
we-
best Valorant.
Last year,
that's their
they tr-
peaks. They
Last
peak.
year, Alex,
And then they
Alex
still
fucked the
win.
map draft up. It shouldn't have happened that way. He screwed the whole thing from the outset. It was a fucking sabotage job, and it won't happen again. So if they get that opportunity, even damn sure, map draft not going to be an issue that time around. So if everyone's hitting the shots like they were in 2023, then yeah, we win the fucking trophy.
2 grand finals appearances with double bans in the grand finals coming through the upper bracket, and you choke it away. It's not happening. I'm sorry, it's just not fucking happening.
Seth, you have your one child who succeeded. You can let Paper X go.
That's not what you're supposed to do with your children, Mimi. You don't wait until one of them accomplishes something and then kick the other out the house.
The other
Josh,
one's, the other
sometimes
one's
you
a
have to be
fuck up, but I'm going to
pragmatic.
put this one on a pedestal. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they're a very consistent team, though. They do make it deep in tournaments. This is actually one of the first ones where they haven't made a really deep run in a while. I'm interested to see what happens for them as they go forwards into
By the way,
into champions.
I think this narrative about them needing a identity shift or some bullshit like that, that's such cap, man. They just need to go back to exactly the things that are good for them, and you know what they need? They need a mental coach, and from there things will change a little bit. But the
You
play
don't think
style
they
that
need
they have
a
is
more
fine.
disciplined play style?
Oh, not really. I mean,
I mean,
I
in certain
disagree.
circumstances, yes, they fucking do.
of course, but like, but that, yeah, okay. I agree, but it's not for the reasons that like in game. Oh, I just need to stop peaking. No, it's the fucking mental problems that you have going into
Sure.
shit like that. It's for me. That's the thing, and not anything else about
Sure.
the team. And yeah, going forward, they need to double down on that shit because you know what? All of the stuff that they do fantastic is a sign of fantastic discipline. Like the amount of discipline that it takes to triple peak perfectly every single time is insane. The amount of discipline it takes to always have the proper util for certain situations is really, really high. Like, I don't know. I think that kind of, yeah, sometimes you overpeak, whatever, man. Sometimes you'll go for a flank, that's stupid. Yeah, whatever, man. Like,
But I think we
if
saw
you take
more
that
of
out of
that
them,
in
then
previous events.
you're going to stop taking risks, and that's what makes Paper X good.
Okay, I want to move on because we don't have very much time here. Again, we've only got 10 minutes here. And I know that a bunch of the... I want to go through predictions. So the Pacific Games, though, feature a lot of teams that have made roster moves. So for some of the teams that have made roster moves, just a very brief line about what's going on there as well. Because again, we're crunched a little bit for time today. So the first game that we've got coming up is one in which it features a team that made roster changes coming into this. So the first game that we're going to go through is Zeta versus DRX. It's the opening game of Pacific, and DRX have just made a pretty large change, bringing back Flashback and getting rid of Stacks. We don't know who the IGL is going to be either, and that, I assume, is why you've gone for Zeta Division, Bala, and the rest of us have gone for DRX.
Sorry, what was the question?
The changes that they've made. Because otherwise, the previous DRX in Stage 1 would have shit on Zeta.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be really tough to start off a stage a couple weeks after losing Stacks, and so that's entirely what it is. Obviously, it's a decision by them. It's not like it's a bad decision or anything like that. I think they needed a change, but I think it's just going to feel super weird for Buzz and Mako, for everybody who's been developed by Stacks on this team. So I think there's just going to be a weird period of time at the beginning of the season that I think Zeta can take advantage of. That's it.
I don't think that's out of the question. I mean, there's been promise from Zeta Division, and I mean, Dep is Dep. Like, he could still just go in there, and if the calling from DRX, we'll have to see who the IGL is going to be. But like, if the calling isn't strong, or it's still, they're still finding their footing, like Dep could absolutely just take hold of a game if Zeta comes in with a solid game plan. I just still think that DRX have a solid enough baseline, even without Stacks in the team anymore. Mako still one of my goats.
Who's calling for them though, Seth?
Yeah.
Who's calling for them?
And that's the biggest thing too,
it.
because like if it's one of the vets,
do you
bro,
want to stab
that's
in the
gonna
dark?
take so much. Yeah, of course. I love
Stab in the dark. Mako. I think it's gonna be Mako.
Agreed.
Really?
Do you think that'll hurt his
I think he's gonna be
performance?
calling from control.
That's the thing, right? I think either Buzz and Mako, I don't think that they have the temperament for it not to hurt their performance.
We'll have to wait and
Especially
see. I
early in
think
the
that-
season, especially like match 1, match 2, you're figuring out with the team. Like I don't know. I think it's reasonable actually for Bala to say Zeta's winning here, because I think that is really hard to make a significant shift like that. Even though the reason I made this pred was I think they have like great synergy between each other. Even if an IGL is changing, I think there's so much built up in this team and so much talent that I would think they would still win it probably, but it's still a big change. And there's been a lot of times where we've thought 1 for 1, swap out, whatever, but you can't really know what a team's dynamic is like behind the scenes and how much losing one player can shift that, because it could be massive, or it could be get right off on the same foot and keep going.
If NRG have taught us anything though from this year, it's that you need an IGL. I don't trust it at all. I'm still predding them because I think they just have a better system already in place, and I think those the problems will occur further down the line. But yeah, the rumors are as well that it was, or at least the rumor in the community was that it was going to be Bane picking up some of the calling because he'd done some like secondary calling. But again, I haven't heard anything to confirm who is actually short calling.
It could, if that's the case, it could be that he's mid rounding, and then maybe Mako does like grand scheme,
Early
like
round
round
stuff.
macro type stuff. But I mean, I'll find out in 2
Yeah.
days. Go to the
exactly.
studio. I'll
We
be
don't have to
asking
wait long.
questions. So.
Let's get into the next game then, because the next game, it's another weird one. It does have another 2 teams, both of which have made roster moves. Secret versus Bleed. And you're going with Bleed, Seth and Bala. Yo! Now that Ye's gone, you think they're going to get the win?
I'll let Bala go first.
Yes. That's the answer to the question. I think it's very funny to me watching like the beef get squashed between scary and crazy guy. But man, there's got to be something with those two guys that actually makes something click. Because last year was much better than anything we saw on that first stage from them. So yeah, I think they've had a lot of time to prep here, and it's not just Bleed, by the way, making the roster changes too. It's Secret as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Pacific's gonna get shaken up. It's already much better than it was back in kickoff, and
There's so many teams making roster, man.
Yeah.
All over the place. I mean, next, just to be clear with everybody as well, there was way too many roster moves for us to fit into this week's episode, so we're going to try to push a lot of them to next week and talk about that along with like the patch.
I think we talk about it in hindsight as well a little bit.
the patch is gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I mean,
It's
the patch
big
also,
episode.
like
Crazy.
Valorant console coming out. There's like
Yeah.
so much stuff
Yeah.
that we couldn't fit into this one.
Yeah, so just to run you guys through it though very quickly, Team Secret, they dropped Borkum, they benched NDG, they signed Tuj, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce his name. Tuj.
It's technically like Toge, I think is how it's pronounced, like
Toge,
Toge.
okay.
But
Toge.
we just said
But
that
he played
going
as like
with
the
2G.
sixth person for RRQ previously last year, right? He
Yes.
played like
Yeah.
quite a
Yes.
bit with them. He wasn't bad, and someone called Wild Oreo as well is
Gotta
on
go
the team.
crazy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Wild
so-
Orio's gotta go
Dude,
crazy now.
I forget which Filipino team he was on. Oh yeah, he was on Oasis. So yeah, he was on Oasis, which has been like one of the teams that kind of hovers around the top of that scene in the past. So overall, like just having talked to like Asrai and Mika Fabs, like they said like yeah, he's a pretty solid pickup. For a team like Team Secret, we were kind of expecting maybe somebody from like Naus, because that was the team that was contending in Ascension and whatnot. But seems like I think Envy has a past of like playing alongside this guy, so there's like some pre-existing synergy in that regard, and I'm guessing the trials just overall went really well. I was kind of surprised, honestly, to see Borkum leave, because I thought that he was putting up some solid performances. I definitely wouldn't have said that coming into the year. In fact, I said the opposite. But I thought that he was overall playing decently well, and I felt like NDG was starting to find his footing. So I was a little bit surprised to see these changes here from Secret, that as well as Warbirds being eliminated. But in regards to why I have elected to go with
Being
Bleed,
eliminated.
Eliminated. They fucking old yellered the guy. They took him out fast.
What
misspoke.
about the
But,
alfalfa, George?
just think about the rabbits. Okay, so Kurt, run the video. This is why I went with Bleed. If you have it ready.
What is this?
I don't have it ready.
Video?
1 second, sorry.
Does he have the video?
I
He doesn't
Run
have it
the
ready.
video? What do you
He's
mean
a
run
fucking
the video?
production
I-
team in the back, bro.
I made a promise.
Oh,
I made a statement before.
it
and I'm
didn't
gonna
know it
stick to
needed
it.
audio. Hold
Yeah,
on.
I
You've made a. Is this
Okay.
historic footage that you're bringing up?
yes. Also, my thing is so delayed, so I can't tell when the video starts playing.
True,
I can
true.
tell you it hasn't started yet. Okay, so
All right, we
this
got
is-
it. We
this
got
is-
it.
All right.
I made a pact.
Whenever you're ready,
during
then.
stage
Say it
one.
again,
Go
Seth.
ahead.
Say, run the video.
Kurt, run the video.
I'm done. I'm done.
He's like, just
No
get it
more
out.
No, you
secret ever again. Every single time I believe in this team. Every time.
Why
Now-
hast
now
thou
I'm
forsaken
getting
us?
crushed in the match prediction and on an individual level. I'm out.
He's so done.
Unclip
He's
the
so
mic.
Person
done.
not-
Look at this.
Stage 2, no Preds. No.
Just as they make roster moves to improve and beat Bleed, you've gone away from them. Unbelievable. The opposite of the Al Gaib.
Gonna be a man of my word. No Preds. I will
All right.
not be predicting Team Secret a single fucking time in stage 2.
Well, have you got a similar?
Well, it's going to be
pact
wrong
to
at
be
least
made?
2 or 3 of the times. So
That's fine. I'll take
I
the
mean,
L.
maybe. If there was going to be 2 or 3 times, surely this would be one of them. I want to move on to the next game though, because this one's got 2 teams that went to Masters Shanghai, one of which who won and one who bombed out 0 and 2. It's T1 playing against Gen.G.
Mimi's
And I
gone
feel like-
for it. Oh, okay. I saw a smug look. I thought she was gonna
No,
go.
I was just ready for the screenshot.
Okay, it makes sense. I
There's
forgot
no
we do
way
that.
T1 is winning this match.
Yeah, this is
T1
the
have
biggest
just signed
guarantee of
stacks.
Pacific
T1 have just signed Stacks. They've got a 6-player roster. They're experimenting in scrims. They've had time to prep. Gen.G have just come back
Did you just say
from Shanghai.
6-man roster? Not again! Not again, T1! Please don't do it again! No!
The last time we were talking about a 6-man roster realistically on this was when Chobra posed DRX running a 6-man to you, Sideshow, and I seem to recall you falling over in your chair and then riding your bicycle because you were losing your fucking mind.
Wait, so they have a 6-man roster.
Because they don't know which 5 people to commit to yet.
Oh,
As far as I'm
okay. Actually,
what they've
fair
said.
because Bros only had like a week and a half or 2 weeks or whatever since they bombed out of.
But also, did they need to make enormous changes? I mean, I guess this isn't an enormous change.
No, if
particularly.
Stacks
They
is
might end
available,
up-
you pick his ass up. Come on now,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous.
especially when they've been shuffling around the IGL role in the team.
Yes, exactly. No, absolutely.
I think Stacks being freed up to just go ape shit in a lobby, just playing Flash Initiator and just focus on his own gameplay. Mimi's getting flattened, but just
No more 6-man roster. They don't work.
oh,
Heretics has almost
Mimi's
essentially a 6-man
Mimi's in the
roster.
flat
That's-
penny
that's
machine.
Forced.
Too.
Forced is different.
They put me through the souvenir penny machine at the zoo.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, I
if it's
think
physically
Gen.G
hurting
should
you.
win this.
Mimi's been crushed one-dimensionally. She's just a
it's sad.
thin
Still
line.
here.
The
I'm
couch.
still here in the thin. The only
All
good
right.
thin line.
We have to communicate with me through a fucking Ouija board, like.
Let's move on to the next game. It's PaperX playing against Talon. It's a top team playing against a bottom team in theory.
What are you guys like? Come on,
And
man!
you've gone
Like,
for
why,
Talon,
why is
Bala.
it always me?
And
Why
that's
have you
your
gone for
question
Talon?
to answer?
Talon almost. I mean, other than what they got shit on 13-1 on Lotus or something like that, but
13-0.
They should 13-0. They should have been able to go on a run, man. They went 4-1 in the first stage. Like this is a good team. This is a very solid team.
Yeah.
And I think PaperX is still going to be fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I think Talon could challenge here. They've had a lot of time, and PaperX have had how much time? Fucking nothing. They got no time to do anything in terms of getting back in shape, in terms of actually scrimming, bro. Like the Pacific game starts so fast. I'm not downgrading Gen.G because I think they're the best in the world right now, and T1 is not even close to that level. But I think here, PaperX, I'm downgrading them a lot because of this Shanghai debuff coming off for some of these teams for Pacific. It's maybe going to be different for Americas and EMEA when they play a little later starts, but still, I mean,
I
there's
don't
so
know,
little
man.
time.
Even that, I don't like. If it was, I just can't see it with Talon. I think that PaperX will just do their fundamental. Like, I don't care if they're overpeaking every angle and running it down. I think that they are good
Oh,
enough.
now you don't care. Oh, we need
Yeah,
more
now I don't.
discipline
Now I
before,
don't.
but
Now I
now we don't care.
No, I don't, because it's the group stage of Pacific, not top.
I
end
know,
of an
but
international tournament.
but you're acting like Talon's a fucking bottom washed.
I don't think
bottom
they
I
ass.
know.
I don't think they are, but I still think PaperX is just better.
I was too harsh on them when I introduced them as a low tier team. They really aren't this year, are
No,
they? I was
they're
thinking
not,
back
no.
to their game against
Not at all.
PaperX. To be honest, with me, the Talon just left such a bad impression in my head last year that I keep thinking about them as a bad team. But they
Bro,
almost
it's not
beat
even
PaperX last
it's
time.
not even the same team. Like not even close.
No,
They got
it's not.
fucking
Cruising Jit Boys.
yeah, and actually no, Lenny
Yeah.
wasn't even on the team. Yeah,
Lenny
it's
was
a,
on
it's a
Team Secret.
whole international team. Like
Wait.
it's,
Yeah.
I might have also been taking the bait of of remembering the bad times.
They have
still
been
think
fairly
PaperX
good.
Look, this team has shown
could be
a lot of
persuaded.
mental resiliency. To be able to bounce back after going 0-13, and then make a competitive series versus
I'm
PaperX. I think
I tried to go.
Really good.
I was on the match page of VLR, and I tried to go look at the standings. I go to regular season, and it says 0-0 for everybody, and I'm boomed. Come on, guys, do better.
Oh,
They've
Wait,
got
but it
standings
carries over.
already.
it does go.
Oh, VLR
Anyways,
got so good.
They went 4-1, like 4-1.
no, they're a very good team.
They got fucking scammed because of the shitty playoff format. Like
We've got to if we pred against them though, they're going to win because this is the team with the humiliation kink, where Frost has to whip them into shape and paddle them before they go on to games. So Yeah, I
change
think
my
this
friend
is
to
gonna be a
Paper X.
banger.
I'm fucking. That's
No. No, this is going to be a banger game. This is
Okay,
going to be a
okay.
banger game.
Like, I do not think that this is anywhere close to a guarantee. I think that this is as close to about a 50-50 as you could probably get between these two teams. And I probably do lean a little bit more on Talon, at least starting off really well.
Let's make
I
it a
feel like
guarantee.
Paper X are just going to clutch it up. Is the
No,
main
don't make it a
thing.
guarantee.
No, I
What
don't
are we
think it's a
talking
fucking
about?
guarantee.
Don't do that.
The other thing that I will say for a boon for Talon in the future, if they can really start getting him like consistent, is like the neon changes with Governor, because like that opening series from him at kickoff, just dropping 30
Wait.
on
Yeah.
threes playing
Wait,
neon was
wait, guys.
disgusting.
This is my fucking. The asylum where they raised me was watching Governor play Nerd Street weeklies every week, like casting 3 BO3s in a day for like not enough money, and he's so
Yeah.
fucking good on Neon with the buffs
He's gonna
too.
pound.
Like
Holy
Holy
like
shit.
him, Depp, those are two players
Dude,
that I'm
so
really
is
looking forward to.
Depp. Oh my god,
Honestly-
and I didn't go for Zeta.
I'm not gonna lie, Easy 5 would be the
Wait,
best.
wait.
team in
Surely
Pacific.
they're not playing with the new neon patch this week.
2, I think.
Week 2,
week 2.
surely, right?
Oh,
That's
right.
why I'm saying like Paper X for this one might be
Yeah.
a little bit more talent pilled in the future.
Yeah,
They have a good strength of schedule. I feel.
Yo, but you guys are sleeping on the ice, so never mind. We'll get to the patch shit like the next week.
Yeah.
They ain't playing on that shit. We'll get to it later, but yeah, don't sleep on Paper X just because of the changes.
Well, let's have a look at the next game that's coming up then. So this also has a team that's made a roster change. Wyatt, who used to play for Paper X, has now been signed by RRQ as their 5th player to replace Flipsider. And RRQ this week are going up against everybody's favorite from the Finesse co-streams, Detonation Focus Me. And we've got all of us going for RRQ, the Plat chat guarantee, which I don't feel good about personally.
Nope.
I don't either.
Either.
DFM have been a very inconsistent team, but they've had some good ideas. And I think coming into a season, you would expect that to be a boon for them because other people haven't seen what they're running, for a while.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. They can't qual. They can't do anything this year. So my hope for the players, or actually my perception of what the players' motivation is going to be is fucking nothing. Like, I have a feeling they ain't scrimming as much. They ain't playing ranked as much. I have a feeling that it's just going to...
Nah. I disagree with that just because that does not fit like the Japanese
culture?
work ethic. No, it really doesn't.
Sure,
And these guys, like, no matter what, like, no team wants to rest on their fucking laurels and just check out. Like, they want to be able to get the second
Their
win.
What are we
laurels.
talking about?
I mean,
Rest on the
they've
thorn
been-
bush
they've been-
that they find themselves in.
it's been burned to ashes, but they still don't want to rest on it. So yeah, I think that they're still going to be. They want to be able to inspire some hope in this being like a more long-term project led by this core here with May at the kind of the helm. So I think they're going to try to come out swinging. They have had some really good reads in the past, but RQ with Wyatt is going to be, I think, a very different looking team. So prepping for this iteration of RQ is going to prove to be difficult. So trying to pull off that kind of like ascent level masterclass that we did see from DFM in their win over T1 is going to be very tough.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's head to our final game then of the week, which is an interesting one, actually. It's the first time that we're going to see global play this week, and they're up against Team Secret, who've already had a clash against Bleed earlier on. And we've got a mixed bag here, myself and Seth going for global esports, whereas Mimi and Bala are going for Team Secret. And this to me just feels like a classic trap game kind of thing.
Yep.
Maybe it won't be like this because maybe Team Secret will be prepped more for the global game than they will for the Bleed. But I think it's so difficult when you play twice in a week like Secret are doing. And I feel like global have been all right as well. They kind of similar to last year. They look like they're decent, but they're not putting enormous amount of wins on the board.
They have some good ideas. Then they have had some really strong performances. I mean, Russ and Lightning Fast have been overall quite good. Polvi, his like rifling has been great, and I think overall like his opping and especially his outlaw can be really solid. He's just one of those players that just goes off the leash and like really overextends, peaks an angle where he's like unassisted, and there could be somebody already set up on that angle. So it's not like the start of the round where he's able to get established on a line and then someone's going to come swinging into him. He's trying to like swing into people and he gets punished on the regular. I think if they tune up that kind of stuff, global could find their footing. I think that they have a solid foundation. They've got a solid veteran core of players. I'm hoping to see Blaze King enabled a little bit more to kind of crush like he has in the past. My biggest question is, Benkai shifting back into the IGL role. How's that going to look?
I think this tier of Pacific match is like the most like coin flippy tornado games that you can have. I feel like both these teams are coming in with like some small changes for Team Secret. They're playing twice in a week. It does feel like a good opportunity for GE to maybe get an upset, but I'm gonna be honest. I flipped a coin to predict this, and yeah, Team Secret's winning.
Based.
100%.
That's what I would have done if I didn't have my pact. So.
Oh yeah, of course. This is your same pact coming back. Well, Bleeding Global, congratulations if the pattern emerges. Very good then. All right. Well, why is Pacific starting a week earlier than everybody else? By the way, we didn't ask that question, but
I don't know.
like, why?
Oh,
Why are they trying to
format.
speed run everything?
Don't care. But also, can I
I'm
just
a
say,
caster guy.
fuck yes, Pacific for actually taking, dude, this time in between the stages and the amount of changes that have gone on has been. I think everything has been fairly positive in terms of changes. I think they're
For rosters?
really, yeah, for rosters. I think they're building in a good direction, and they're taking advantage of the time that they have, and I think that's going to lead to some teams having upswings. Actually, maybe most teams having upswings.
Yeah. A lot of teams in Pacific have made changes. By my calc, I think only one team in Europe has made a roster change. So some have made
Gimme
culture
is
changes.
trolling.
And America's have done like MIBR of Rebuilt, but they haven't had a chance to scrim. So
I mean,
We'll have to
Fraud
talk
was
about that next
tweeting
week.
about possibly
we'll
having
get
to
to
play
that stuff.
like.
I mean, Aspas is still in Shanghai.
yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that later on as well because the
Osmos is
Leviatan
actually
team
the
has been
new
just...
fifth for EDG. That's the secret I don't want you to know. He can save them. He can save them.
Oh god. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Achilleos, for joining us for the first half of this episode. Appreciate your time and listen. Go see a doctor. Yeah, it's not supposed to last more than 4 hours.
I know. We're going on 4 days. I know. It's long overdue. I'm gonna maybe go to the hospital right now. But
That's been
thank
an
you all.
awkward flight back to Korea.
Well, that's why they give you the blanket. But I'll see everybody for the opening day 2 days from now. It's gonna be fun, nonstop work. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Don't
bye.
die.
Bye, Seth. I'm gonna press my little button. We can swap
Bye,
Sliggy
Chloe.
in.
Oh shit! Hot
I'll
swap.
be right back.
Oh, wait a second.
That was clean.
I've
bro.
had
Dude, that tech was
That
so
was
clean.
Crazy clean.
Oh my god!
You can
no
use the
BB,
restroom,
no
Mimi.
breaks.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
God damn. Wait there. How was your experience co-streaming the tournament, Sliggy? Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was fun. It was nice, dude. Two games a day is sick as well. 2 games a day is just like the perfect amount. Well, the tournament was good. I kind of wish FPX went a bit further because I was enjoying watching them. But yeah, dude, it was a fun event, man. It was really, really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good.
You guys have fun.
destroyed
How's
the slug.
Yeah, dude, I saw some of the clips. Every time people are like, "You got to check out what the hell they're doing over there." I was like, "Okay, let's go have a look."
I
TikTok
really
dances,
wanted
destroying
to
slugs.
just video call you and show you the slug. And
Just the slug getting wrecked.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, if you want to get one of those, they're super cheap as well, at least from
But
the place that we were getting them from.
They look incredible. Yeah, I was looking at them thinking, "Damn, I should just have a room full of them."
Yeah, well, maybe not. Full of them is a bit weird, but
Well,
having
why?
a couple is fine.
Couple, no, you get like 12.
Just make a beanbag out of them.
Yeah, it's loads of them. Dot them around.
Well, Mimi does actually have to go in like 45 minutes, so I kind of just want to get cracking with it, even though she's not here. So I wanted to get started with Heretics. Heretics just had such a phenomenal run. While I was watching them, I was saying to the people on the couch, like, this team's going to pound at champs. Like, right at the beginning of the tournament, I was like, when they get people together, they're going to be amazing at champs. But I did not expect them to be good at that tournament. The difference between in Madrid, where they went 0-2, and then this tournament run is them like finding their footing and suddenly realizing that they can beat all of these other teams, even though they have a stand-in at the same time as well. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I think they had I think the first game as well, the first game against DRG, I think just giving like Wu a little bit of confidence. He was just swinging everything, one tapping, and I think as soon as he kind of had that game under his belt, and he was like, "Hold up, this is how easy it is as well." Just on like 0 ping, just actually just swinging everything. So yeah, I think that kind of started off the confidence, and then yeah, everything was just lovely from then on. He was just playing incredible. Like I don't think we've ever seen I know, like, stat-wise, I think there's maybe even better debuts, but I think it was unbelievable, like, how he was playing. It's hard for Heretics to be like, yep, this guy shouldn't be on duelist after this. Like, I know it's like what they've been prepping, but this guy was crazy. And just in general as well.
Go on.
I was just say, just in general as well, the fact that they did what some teams can't do as well, which is like changing some of their maps midway through, right? They changed their bind midway through. That's very impressive.
Yep. So stats-wise, like you were saying, Woot, it had up until the grand finals, he had the best rookie performance, as in you're fresh to tier 1, and then this is your first international event. Not like it's your rookie year and you're at an international event, but it's your first ever international event and you are brand new to the tier 1 scene. He had the best rookie performance of anybody since Ye played at Berlin, when he was playing just like permajet in the unbelievably broken Jet era, playing for Envy. So he was unbelievably farming. And we looked at the stats earlier. Kurt was like toggling grand finals on and off. He just planked in the grand finals, man. And his tweet afterwards, which I included for you as well, Kurt, if you want to bring it up, was heartbreaking. He's like, that's the reason I don't want to play duelist. See you next stage. Couldn't win the international event.
I feel that's so hard though, bro. Like, he didn't choke. Dude, he played fine. He even had one really good map of Ascent too. Like the thing is,
5. He didn't get 10 kills in any of the other maps.
There was two maps they got blown out on. Like I don't know, man.
Right, so 1 out of 3. Dude,
not...
you can't. It's an outstanding drop off to me.
He didn't. The team choked. Josh.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
you're gonna go back and you're gonna watch that match, and you're gonna tell me Woot played the exact same as he did in the rest of the tournament.
No, of course he didn't. He had a downswing, but to say he choked, I think is a little harsh for.
Yeah, I agree. Like if he did, they still would have lost. That's the thing. Even if he still had the same performance, they still would have lost Lotus. They still would have lost Split. It wouldn't have mattered.
But the thing is, too, bro. Like his performance is so reliant on his team. Like he's not. Like that's yes, he farms in certain situations. He's gonna have individual moments that shine, and I think you will have that throughout a series almost all the time. Maybe they were lacking significantly in this series. But the main meat of his performances are coming from his team playing well with him. And that wasn't there throughout the series.
Dude, maybe you could say that for Mini Boo. You can't be telling me you watched Woot and you thought, wow, his team's setting him up so well there. As he goes running around killing 4 players, he has no right to kill at all. He pops jet knives at Yellow and slaughters the whole... Oh, what an excellent work by his team, getting him that ultimate. What do you mean? He was fucking shitting on people, Arden. He was shitting on them. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So, do you think that this team... Do you think there was any... reason, I know they're not going to do this, I know that Neil has said that they're not, do you think you would have been tempted, Sliggy, as a coach, to look to put Woot on duelist after a performance like this?
I would at least be looking at double duelist, I think, especially with like the neon changes that are coming in. I think there's a world where you could maybe run double duelist on some of these maps at the moment. I think that's the main thing that will come in. But I think you've also got to remember, Mini Boo's been unbelievable. It's not like Mini Boo's been a bad duelist by any means. He's been an absolute beast as well. So, yeah, and the fact that like Woot, and I don't know if he's just saying it for like the show of it, but he is saying like in interviews that he wants to be on Initiator and stuff. So I think it's always good to have a player on the agent that he wants to be as well. So, yeah, I think the only temptation would be double duelist, and you could maybe throw it in on a map to just let him run wild if he like loves a map. But yeah, not full time.
Let's see the patch changes how they actually shift at the pro level, because there are definitely going to be some shifts. Let's see how that goes, and maybe you can consider the double duelist thing. But if I'm a coach, if it was same meta sort of thing, and my player is literally publicly saying this sort of stuff, I acquiesce. Like absolutely, let that be how it is, and leave the chips there. Because there's a potential, but I'm not gonna try to kill like his motivation going into the biggest tournament of the year.
Somewhere TMV is screaming like, I just wanted safe on duelist. I just want Woot on duelist. Just put them on duelist.
And he looked great. I do think though, especially if the neon stuff catch on, putting Mini Boo back in the role is great. I think he gives them a lot of options. Like I absolutely adored when they were playing in EMEA. Their sunset with him on that neon. I think it gives them so many options. He's just a great dive player, and I think that Wood is so mechanically gifted and honestly plays so well as just a teammate, and you could see how well he coordinated with his initiators even when he was playing on the duelist. I think kind of no matter what role he's going to be on, he's going to be incredible. And having him and Mini Boo as kind of back as the entry duo for this team again, I think the good times are just going to keep rolling.
Talking about good times rolling, right? Champs is around the corner. Champs is going to be on the neon buff patch. Assuming that, why would we even go for that? By the way,
That was
that's like the something play on Pearl where he used to just updraft at the start of rounds to see if he could get a pick into Art at the beginning. It's just bonkers.
He does that because Valorant lets you, man. That shit would have hit with a Phantom. Like, I'm telling you.
Look how good he is. Look how good he is. Anyway, the good times keep rolling. The neon buff is around the corner. Mini Boo's coming back in to play the neon. Woot's going to be on Initiator. Surely this team is going to be one of your favorites to win champions.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think they should be in your top 3. I would say top 3, if not top 2. Maybe with Gen.G at the top. I'm still a little bit worried that they might have a rough time. There's a world where they have to play the single elim in the playoff stage. There's still a good chance that even though they've made like 3 grand finals or whatever it is in terms of internally and like kickoff, there's a chance they still don't make champs right now. They might have to play a single elim against someone.
Do you
That
really
worries
believe
me.
that's going to happen, though? Because I don't. I just don't believe that they're going to actually struggle. Because I think they're going to do well
They're
in stage
3
2.
and 2.
Bro,
Man.
yeah, they're 3 and 2. They're gonna play a
They
single
have
elim.
Navi, Foot in their group. Like,
And also,
Single
they
elims are
didn't
crazy.
win, so they didn't get the points. And they also, like, they weren't the number
Yeah.
1 seed from EMEA, so they didn't get the 3 points from that either. So
But Josh,
if they don't
you're right.
qualify, there's a chance, like, no. It's
they
real.
have a chance they could play the single elim, but bro, there's no chance that they're losing the single elim, bro, against
Oh,
the,
boy.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, boy.
Dude, I've got full confidence in this team. I don't give a shit if they have to single elim every other fucking team in Europe in order to make it there. They're getting there. They're getting
Oh,
to
look.
champs.
Navi's the last match. Like, Foot and Navi, dude, they're. Oh, wait, no, is that first?
No, Navi's the first
Navi's
match.
first
Fuck
match.
off, bro. That sucks ass. That's so rough.
That's the thing. They're pretty much guaranteed to play the single elim. But again, with the neon buffs, they should be fine in a single elim. They
But
just
it's
look
still a
crazy
meta
good.
change, and it's still less time to scrim than other
But- yeah.
teams, and it's
But-
coming
but I
back,
think
like,
they're-
we saw what happened to Sentinels. It's always possible. I think that the short turnarounds, you're also reintegrating a player back into the roster, and you're gonna have to change up a lot.
Which I think actually might be a boon for them. Because
I think that's right.
yeah, because when you come off of a tournament and you have nothing to change, like a lot of times it's hard to get back in the flow of things. Whereas when you're putting Mini Boo back in, not only Mini Boo is going to be mad hype, but they're all going to be mad hype to get Mini Boo back in. And I think the work is
Do you think
much
that's gonna be
easier
like
to
the
be done.
catalyst?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think so. I think it might be like right now. Now we've got the full team here. Let's see what we can do. And I think also like their bind, because they changed their bind midway. They won 3 games. They only had 2 practices on that bind. Like that just shows how impressive they are. Two practice on the bind, and then they just did a lot of theory stuff. Like they're
unreal.
good at just switching stuff up within like 2 days a day.
Yeah, they're absolutely unreal. I mean, this is disgusting. The fact that they beat 100 Thieves and then they just obliterate G2. Yeah, that's wild. Do you think Paddy Tech, with Mini Boo coming back in, let's assume that he passed his exams, hopefully.
He did. They posted on Twitter. He had like a little graduation photo
You got
with
the
like
results
a
back
little
already?
Heretics pin. Yeah.
Well, they're so efficient over in Lithuania.
Well, no.
In the UK, you have to
so
wait for months.
He actually wrote his exams like a few weeks ago. It wasn't like right at the end of the tournament, but I think he had some other school's thing. that he couldn't
Right.
come.
Yeah, because he had to do something during playoffs. So I was
Yeah.
like, how the hell have they turned that around? What are they paying the people who are teaching in Lithuania? That's an insanely efficient system. Okay, so assuming that all goes well and he doesn't really have to dip out for the rest of the year now, Paddy Tech doesn't have a home anymore. Paddy has had an amazing opportunity this year as a 6th player. Nobody's had a better opportunity than Paddy Tech to show himself whilst being on the bench. But do you think now he should be looking for a tier 1 team to play in? Do you think tier 1 teams should be looking for Paddy?
Yeah, I think there's like 5-6 teams that probably get an upgrade of him right now. I would hope that he knows as well that he shouldn't be signing a tier 2 contract, because tier 2 teams will be like trying to get him. I hope he really just waits it out until end of champs, for the teams to go, because he's proven that he's good and like consistent. And if we kind of look at him, he's only had like one bad game out of the whole of Madrid and Shanghai put together. So I mean, I think he's great, man. He saved him in some big moments as well. So yeah, I think like 5 teams that that I look at EMEA get an upgrade with him right now. So yeah, I would hope so.
Do you think anyone's going to make roster change? Because I don't see him being on a team for stage 2 or champs, which I think is kind of tragic with how good he was. But I don't see what team would take the risk to make a change like that so last minute.
I could fucking name a few of them, but the thing is,
Let's call him
Will
out.
they?
EMEA has just really dumb management, and they like, I'm sorry, but they're not gonna make changes, man. These teams are just so stubborn in the way that they manage their
true,
teams.
yeah.
It's so fucking frustrating.
They're just kicking coaches.
They're
being
just
like,
kicking
"Yeah, this
coaches.
is-
It's
yeah,
like,
this-
bro, they're
are we gonna
kicking the
make a
people
change?"
who are making the teams for them. Like, there's no shot they're making any changes.
Yeah, even Koi, like Koi out. Just fucking change 5 of your players and try 5 new players, and then you can sign some other players. Like, honestly, if this is your chance to try 5 new players, be the first to get all of these tier 2 players. You change nothing up. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're wasting everyone's time.
Is
Maybe
there
keep
chance
2 of
to
the players.
Do a
change
fucking
3.
EG combine. Get like 900 different ranked players signed to your roster. You try a
You
different
might
one
as well,
every
though.
match.
Like, you got nothing to lose. You could be the first to sign like the next level of Woots and stuff, and it's not
you
doing
don't
it.
you don't know that they have nothing to lose. It's possible that they signed, Shadow and Camo onto guaranteed contracts for the entire year. They had a lot of weight coming into the year.
I'm gonna
Maybe
tell you
they
right
signed
now,
extraordinary
ain't
severance fees.
no shot, brother. Ain't no shot.
Yeah, it is weird when they have all the power to do that and
This
they're
guy,
just
man.
not doing it at all.
Yeah, it's
It's-
crazy.
I want to talk about the Americas teams though, because this was the worst tournament since Copenhagen for Americas. It's the first time that America's team has not been in a grand final since Copenhagen. And G2 managed to get into the 3rd spot above 100 Thieves, despite the fact that Boostio was calling them pigs all year long. So, overall, do you consider this an underperformance for Americas? I know that on paper, like, no Americas team in the final equals underperformance. Do you think that it was a bad result for the region?
I mean,
I mean, these teams overperformed. America's underperformed. Does that make any sense?
As in,
I
you
would-
hate what Lev did, basically. Is that-
Lev, loud, motherfucking every Sentinel's like, oh, the entirety of America's, man. This region is so good, and no shade to G2 or 100 Thieves. Like, they played fantastic, and I think they're completely underrated. We've been saying it the entire tournament. But, dude, the other teams should not be fucking drumming it up, especially Leviatan, especially some of the teams who didn't make it all the way out here. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that America's is still like, this was, well, I am disappointed in the region. To me, this also shows the depth of it, that like G2,
Yes.
who is getting like dunked on for a lot of the group stage, who didn't go on that insane of a run in playoffs, like shows up internationally and plays like some incredible Valorant and makes it to top 3. Like, it's what, like, I remember last year, the EG players and a couple other people in Americas were saying, like, any Americas team that made it could make it top 4 at a global event. And I absolutely believe that cope. I think any of the top 6 teams, if they find the right form at the right moment, could go on a run and make it to the top of a tournament. I think this is disappointing for a region, but I think it's massive for G2. I mean, they played so well. Players stepped up. I think Icy was finally beating a lot of the allegations that were getting built up throughout the entirety of this tournament. Valen as an IGL was showing some great adaptation.
He's playing
And
well.
definitely raised the stocks. Like, these guys are super legit, and I'm so happy for them. 100 Thieves, I do feel like it is a bit of a disappointment from them, even though they made top 4. I think they beat some good teams. They beat Paper X. I think you got to give them credit for that. And they only lost to Gen.G and then G2, or not G2. Sorry, who did they lose to?
Who,
100
for
Thieves.
100
Heretics. Yeah,
Thieves? It's just the finalists. Both teams only lost to the finalists.
Yeah.
yeah, which is sick.
So, same with FPX.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
we'll
That's
get to
true.
that. FPX is FPX is especially when they sign Ospas.
So, yeah, go on then.
It's fantastic performance from these guys, and I think to echo Mimi's sentiments about just like the strength and depth of the region, like worst results since Copenhagen. Like for anybody who like Americas has been in the finals every single tournament since Copenhagen, and that's crazy. And they've won almost most of them. It's insane. So when you don't have, and this is going to sound annoying because of how deep G2 and 100 Thieves got, but when you don't have the best teams from your region, and the teams that go still make it top 4, still make it this deep, and still look as good as they did throughout the tournament. I'm speaking of 100 Thieves, especially in the opening match, and some of the other stuff that they did. Like, their peak absolutely could have been in the grand finals. G2, the same thing, right? Absolutely could have been contending for this win. So,
it is bonkers how bad 100 Thieves played in the game against Gen.G, and it was still 10-13. I remember watching it at the time thinking, it doesn't feel like this should be 10-13. Gen.G have felt like they're in control the whole time.
And yet, I think even when they were playing really bad both first halves. I think they played solid in the second half of both maps of the Gen.G series. I can't remember it was two fake comebacks, but their defense on Icebox was really good. Their retakes looked on point. I think Cryo was starting to like find form there. And on Ascent, it was basically the same story, but kind of reversed, where like they looked solid on their defense, and then it kind of crumbled in the second half.
Yeah, Boostio's calling was a bit off.
Yeah, I felt like teams had really good reads on them, and I felt like that made his calling look off. Like when I would look at the Heretics game on Sunset, he's like, they did an interview with Zix, and he's just like, yeah, we know what they do on Sunset. And then I had Weber in my co-stream, and he's like, oh, we antied ourselves for this one, like we've changed up everything. And they're finding the Cypher, thinking that the Cypher site has no one in, and the Cypher site has like 3 in. You see Boostio see like a Cypher trip, and he's like, okay, the Cypher's here, and he's just running in on his own, and he's just walking into like a crossfire. So I think like the anti and the fact that teams changed up, like both Gen.G and Heretics, was like pretty impressive against 100 Thieves. So yeah, a bit of a prep diff. But in terms of G2, I think a big thing that helped them here was like their map veto as well. Like they got rid of Sunset, and that's like PaperX's favorite map, that's Heretics' favorite map, and I think that like really helped them have a good run in this one. I have no idea why PaperX picked a team who likes to veto their best map. That was a little bit crazy, but I think G2 did. G2 did great, and I definitely want to highlight Icy. I feel like stage 1, like I didn't see, like when he came in, I kind of didn't really see the hype. Then playoffs, he got really, like, he kind of impressed me, and then here I felt like he played to the best that I've personally seen him at the moment. So I feel like that was a big tournament for just him and getting confidence.
But also, he's not lighting the world on fire. He's not putting up like Woot performances, texture performances, meteor performances.
But his first kills are good. His first kills are good. Like his impact and what you're like meant to do space wise as a duelist is pretty good. It's not like it's not like the hard carry that you expect from other duelists. But I think role play wise, in terms of what you're meant to be doing, I think he's doing his role pretty well. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think that G2 are actually better than 100 Thieves? They placed third, but they didn't play against each other, which I thought was one of the biggest disappointments of the tournament. Do you think they're actually better? I think 100 Thieves are better.
I think 100 Thieves are better.
It's crazy, isn't it? We're still like, I agree with you, but isn't that still underrating G2 again?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, it's rating how good the Americas region is as a whole. That they're such a good team, and
we're talking about 100 Thieves and G2.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that I don't think that's me underrating G2. I think G2 is a great team, but I think 100 Thieves is better. Honestly, I think they got antied really hard, and they lost to the 2 finalists. Like,
I would still, I mean, the same thing with the other side. Like, but I would still rate 100 Thieves higher in a power ranking. With that said, I think G2 showed much better growth potential than 100 Thieves, whereas 100 Thieves kind of ran into a block where with the way that they got antied, with the way that the changes in the game were going. Like not dealing with texture top pipes like 3 rounds in a row, that sort of thing is
that was brutal,
unforgivable to me. But yeah, so what I'm saying is basically G2, dude, the amount of stuff that was like crazy, like bro, they lost the first map almost every time in like a horrific fashion, and they come back and win the next 2. Like if that doesn't tell me that, or if that doesn't tell you that this team is gonna fucking go crazy this split and potentially end up being better than some of those teams that I'm saying should be here in the first place. I don't know, man. That shows such resilience. That proves to them so much too that yeah, this team is gonna get much better. I'll flip the potentials because for me at the beginning of this it was different, right? I thought 100 Thieves could go crazy. I thought they could go way up there, but now it's kind of I'm pushing the brakes on that and going the opposite way with G2.
I'm not as low on 100 Thieves as you are, but I do think what G2 proved to me is they shook off all of like the monkeys on their shoulder. The like Icy not being good enough to compete with like the super high level people. He played great in so many of their matches. The like chokers not having the mental resiliency thing. They had fucking insane resiliency. The comebacks in these matches. I mean, the game against Heretics, and also the ability to adapt between games and play a team like Heretics 3 times, and at least in 2 of those come up with really solid ideas to change things up and kind of stay in control. I think Valen stocks. I was already a massive Valen fangirl, but have gone even higher this tournament. His IGLing throughout were on point. He didn't find quite the same like magic of being like the #1 most insane player every match, but he had so many rounds, so many impactful clutches and moments as an individual player beyond just his calling. And then guys like Jonah and Trent were also stepping up, I think, even beyond what we were seeing in Americas. So I agree with you that like there is still potential yet to be reached by G2.
Jonah P had a crazy event. Like
Yeah,
Jonah P was mad impactful. He did some.
And on the
big
flip
Best player
plays.
on the team.
I think
Yeah.
Trent was not as good as Trent is. You know what I'm saying? Like I think Trent could have done a lot more. I think he's kind of been lacking, not quite all year, but I like, dude, he used to be so fucking insane, and I'm just not seeing that flash from him that we used to yet. And that's what I'm saying, man. Activate him. Like it's over for Americas. That sort of thing it's getting close to that.
Yeah, if you're getting those kind of performances out of Leaf and Trent, yeah. Sorry, Leaf and Jonah P. I want to move on to talking about Leviatan, because really, when we're talking about the worst America's results, G2 and 100 Thieves still did fairly well, right? They just got beaten out by 2 other squads who were fantastic. But this team fucking flopped. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. So I just want to start with a real nice open-ended question. What do you think the problem was, people? What do you think the issue is with this team?
A little bit of overconfidence maybe with some of their stuff, not changing their sunset up enough, over peaking, not playing together, not really doing anything as a team. It was a shocker.
The fucking meme list.
Yeah,
The bunny hopping, strafe
bro,
jumping, smoke lineups.
It was actually a bit of a shocker. Like, I think Tex was playing pretty good in terms of like fragging wise. Mazzino fell off. Com had a shocker. King had a bit of a shocker. Aspas fragging out kind of just what we expect, really. But the overall team play and some of the stuff they're doing on these big rounds is criminal, bro. I know because like their coach resigned or left or mutual whatever it was, which never happens, by the way. It's someone leaving and being like, do you want to how do you want to word this? Like he either got kicked or he left. I don't agree. There's no way he's thinking, oh, maybe I should leave, and then all goes to him is like, hey mate, do you want to leave? And he's like, oh great, I was actually waiting for you to ask this question. Like I hate this whole mutual agreement. No, bro either wanted to leave or he got kicked. And honestly, some of these rounds I would have wanted to have left the team, so I understand it. Dude, let me give you a clip. Let me give you a clip so people have some kind of idea.
It was terrible.
Dude, I love the slinging persona on Plat chat, bro. This shit is such a different shit.
Bro, I'm too focused on the game, bro. I can't flame people too much. I can flame people here. It's fine. The thing is, I don't want chat to start flaming because I get like secondhand embarrassment when I see people that don't know what they're talking about flaming. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to be looking over and reading.
Why do you
But
come
obviously
on
the
this
Plat
show?
chat
That's
is the
great.
smartest in the world.
Um,
So it's fine.
Let me. Is this the right cut? Go to round 3. Go to round 3 on this. Holy hell! This is like they lost Pistol. This is Sunset against Foot. They lost Pistol. They lost the second round. This is here. So they're playing up against their first buy against the bonus. Okay, you can just go like 20-30 seconds in because it's
Brendan
just...
Wyatt were convinced that they were throwing this game for money.
Bro, look at this, right? So we're a 2v5 right now. It's a 2v5. It's your big round. You want to keep it clean, so you got loads of money. So the next round you don't have to like like if you lose it, you can still buy the one after. And we're just swinging middle still. We're still swinging middle. We're just out here dueling. Okay, pretty bad. It's now down to a 2v3. Okay, we should probably play together. Right, so okay, so how do we play together? Should we swing middle? We got all information over towards B. We could just hold middle. We have all of the positions right now. No, let's swing. Let's swing over towards middle. Let's give him some more jewels. Okay, 1v3. Spike is down, and it's just like, oh my god, why are we still peeking right here? We've got a camera. We don't need to be peeking at any of this. And then the time gets so low that they literally can't pick up the spike and go to a site, and they're still dueling in middle. Dude, if I'm a coach, this is what I mean. If I'm the coach here, I would have decided then and there.
Really, they win the
I'm out of
round,
this
though,
team,
right?
bro. Dude, 15 seconds and they're still dueling over towards me. There's 20 seconds. They have a camera that can see the spike and they still duel middle. In your big round 5v2, like this is your whole game done. This is your tournament done because of one round. It's horrendous, bro.
I was doing
Really
an
bad.
interview when this happened. I came back and the coach team was just losing their minds because later on there's that round where King sticks the ultimate to the other side of the
Oh
map
my
as well.
god, I remember that.
Oh, when he was side, yeah, that was mental. He's like, where's
He's
he
an
going?
elbow. The spike is dropped right in front of him. He's on the defense side, and
Yeah,
he ults to the other
and he-
side of the map.
He
And then
leaves
his
his
teammate
teammate on
dies
his
on
own.
that
Is it this one?
Yeah.
Have you found it already, Kurt?
Yeah, someone.
Yes,
found it.
yes, you found it. It's
Bro, some
outrageous.
bitches. But it's done at this point. I mean, it's 0-9.
Of course, it's done, but it's like, how is it? How is it this time?
Dude, I didn't watch this.
You didn't see this? He sticks the ult to the other side of the map.
Where's blood going, man?
Like, actually, where is he going? Like, what is going through his
Dude,
head?
I feel like he just panicked and wanted to ult, and then just like clicked randomly on the map. Like, that's-
I just can't even. Normally, at least, like when you watch a mistake, you can have an idea about like what the player was thinking in the moment, and you're like, right, this is why you made the mistake. Like maybe he did make a mistake, but it makes some sense from some point of view. No idea. Absolutely, just no clue. I also think that when we were looking at the games, one thing that really stood out to me is that when they played against Gen.G, they had 6 more First Bloods on Breeze, the Decider map. They actually beat Gen.G on a map. Then they go into the Decider. They have 6 more First Bloods. Aspas is 8-1 in first kill to first death, and they lost 13-7. Do you have any idea how hard that even is?
This is what I'm saying, dude.
That's
All of
so
these-
difficult.
All of these rounds, it's like they don't have the person being like, right, man advantage, everyone double up, buddy up, let's make sure that we can actually capitalize on this. Everyone's just out here swinging everything. It's like, guys, what are we doing, man? You
It's
can't
so
be playing
tough.
like this at this level anymore. Like 2021, sure. 2022, sure. Maybe the beginning of 2023, you can get away with it. Now,
Think about
you
how
get
good this
wrecked.
team would have been at like Masters Reykjavik, though.
Oh, yeah, it would be nice.
Well, like the first ever one.
Yeah, they would have gone crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
That's very true.
They still would have lost, bro. What the fuck are you like? That's horrendous. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was a poor
It's so
performance.
strange because it really reminds me of when we were watching the first few weeks of this team and like that Cloud9 game in Americas where they just looked completely cooked. People are swinging on their own. The coordination is completely off. And then I feel like we got kind of baited with like I never fully believed, but I was like, okay, they're getting better with some of these wins. Like you know that NRG game in
All right.
particular. I
Are
thought
we talking about like the week after you and Endard came at me like crazy for not believing in Lev? Is this what you just, I never fully
okay, let's
believed.
just say that let's say that Ender fully believed in this team. I thought they would be solid week before I watched them play.
Was this the week after they won against NRG, by the way? Because if so,
No,
I
this
I
was-
genuinely go
This
on.
was like week 1 before we saw them play. This was
Oh,
like
right, okay.
pre-event powering.
Because I think the way in which Leviatan destroyed NRG, because NRG still had such a large name value at the time, it made people really believe that Lev were good. Like I was
Yes.
watching Sean do a VOD review of that game as well, and he was like, this team is playing incredibly. Like NRG played a good game as well, and I was watching it and I was like, I think NRG are shockingly bad, shockingly bad. And then I think Lev just got a like boost up in terms of how good people thought they were. Because if you think back to like, can you think of a good Lev game? It always comes back to NRG. I can't think of a single other game.
I do
where they
think
actually
they
played
played
incredibly well.
solidly, and I think the
Good playoffs.
Sunset they had some good mid round. I think it was solid, and yes, NRG was playing bad, but I think that it was valid to be baited a little bit from that game. But the rest of this was I
But
mean, maybe
who did they beat in
play the
playoffs that was good?
Crew.
They
They
lost.
only
They
beat
beat
Crew.
Crew.
Yeah, I
That
guess.
was. Yeah, that's like. That's it. The other games, like the lower bracket final they played against G2 was horrible, man. The post plants that they were throwing away and like how bad their protocols were there, like that, and the fact that they didn't win a pistol as well. It's like
That's the thing. Yeah, they won like what was it, 1 out of 10 pistols. So I was
you
kind
could
of
just
putting
see
it down
so
to
much
that. Like, give them a pistol round. Actually, they're probably a pretty good team. Like,
Oh,
going
man,
into
the
a best
post
of
plants were
5, if
horrid.
you can win 1 out of 10 pistols,
Yeah.
but you get it to a 5th map, like you're doing pretty good in my books.
But
I do want to
again-
just for a moment though, because we're a bit squeezed on time. Com, I want to talk about him for a sec because the community narrative is all about Com because he did have a stinker of an event and he's honestly been having quite a bad year overall. He's tried to pick up some different agents and pick up the mid-rounding for the team too as like a secondary caller. But do you think that they need to make a player change there? Do you think Com can recover?
I think you can give them more time. I think just give them a split 2 and see how they look, and then I would probably change it. And the big thing for me is he's meant to be the vibes guy, right? I think I've seen him describe himself as like the vibes guy, and I'm not sure he is the vibes guy. I feel like they need someone else. Like when I watch this team vibes-wise, I'm not convinced by it. It just looks a little bit like fake
But is
vibes.
that
It
an
doesn't look like
indictment
a
of
fun team
Calm
to be
or
in.
an indictment of the team? Because I feel like that's more of an indictment of the team than the player.
Dude, if if
Maybe.
Calm is the vibes guy in your team, it's chalked already. It's dysfunctional.
Wait, why?
Calm is a great dude. He doesn't. He's not the fucking vibes guy. He brings great vibes when shit is going great, but he's not the vibes guy. He's not gonna bring the shit down from the dumps and be like, "Yo, we still
agree.
got this, guys. Like, let's go." Like, no, he's
like
absolutely not.
Like when I'm watching them, it doesn't feel like if I rate teams right with like a bleed with Ye being a 1 for vibes and maybe like 100 thieves with Boostio is like a 10. I would say they're like a 2-3 really as a team vibes.
that's-
I would rate.
He's
I think
only
Com adds a
2
bit more
points
than
better
that.
than you guys are. You guys are off the fucking.
Do you not
road.
think? Do you think there's
Dude, no,
vibes
but-
there?
Like context wise, guys, the off season, all the fucking drama that went down to this team, and like bringing
Yeah.
him Calm last
But
minute in
again,
the first
I
place.
think that's
Absolutely, I wholeheartedly believe that the vibes are fucking rancid.
I think they're cooked, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that that's not an indictment of this player. If we're talking about
No,
roster,
I'm
I think
not
you
saying
need a-
that.
I
No.
think it's not a remove Calm, add a better initiator
I
player.
am not
and you fix
saying
the
that.
team. Fucking blow it up. Blow
Yes.
it up. Blow it up.
Yes, yes.
But I think
Absolutely.
Team's
I think he needs good vibes to play well, and I don't think that the vibes are
Sure,
good. That's
sure.
what I
Yeah.
look at.
Okay,
I could see
I
that.
get that. But he can't fix them. But he's also not the problem. I think it is a
Agreed completely.
broken. It is a broken system, is what I see. And I don't think one
Yeah.
player swap is going to fix it, no matter who.
No,
that
I
is.
don't think one player swap would necessarily fix it, unless that would refresh the entire vibe. Just
Unless
by,
unless it's like a
them
Boostio
all
and Six coming
scapegoating.
in kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah,
I think
I
they
mean,
need
sometimes
a
you
full
can-
reset.
sometimes you can fix things by just everyone in the team believes that one person was the problem, and then
Listen, okay,
you load all of your players onto that, all of your failures onto that player. You're like, everything we did wrong was on them. Kick them out. Now it's a fresh beginning. And sometimes that can be a mental reset.
there's factions within the team. You're never gonna get that agreement, man. Like,
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it was actually cooked from the beginning, wasn't it? With Com
That's
coming
what
in,
I'm saying.
replacing the player, and then you have Aspas's
I mean,
mom
they-
giving
the-
it to
the
one of the other
management-
players.
Yeah, I mean, that's
My
so
understanding-
sucked.
Like,
It
wasn't
Richie
that not
Folk from
even
day
really
one.
a player? Like, that was a management decision to like kick their friend right before the season
Once
started
again,
and bring someone, which again isn't Com's
Don't believe
fault,
the
but it's
PR
like,
bullshit. It's
cooked.
not mutually agreed. It never is. The same thing that Slicky said earlier about the fucking coach situation.
Yeah, can
it's
we stop
never
this
like
stuff?
that.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's
Just-
never like
I
that.
hate that stuff. We both.
What
agreed.
I'd really like to see them do though is put Com back in his like more lurking role and have Tex play much more aggressively. If you can get, because Tex is a fragger, if you can
Yes.
get Tex to play aggressively, a bit like Meteor does when he plays on the attack sides, and you actually allow Com to play really far back. Like, dude, my dude is known for shooting people when they're not looking at him. He's not known for going in there and like trading out and being part of the pack. So get him at the back of the field and get other people in there actually playing aggressively. Don't have Tex as your lurker, have Com as your.
Did you not
like,
think that
player at
people
the
are
back
caught
of the
on
pack.
a
does
little
this
bit? to
meta
that?
fit for an initiator to be doing that? I don't think it does. As much
It's
as
not-
it did last year.
No, it's not great for it if you're playing, maps like Bind where you're playing like Fade or Gecko or something. Yeah, you don't normally have the initiator at the back of the pack. But honestly, Com has been playing like quite a bit of Sky and Sova and that kind of thing too. And he definitely could be on those roles, and he isn't. I mean, Com he's occasionally going for his classic like lurk play, but to be honest, he's not even in those positions anywhere near as much. And he doesn't.
Sure.
It's mostly what he's struggling with is that he's going into scenarios like in a team fight, brawl situation, and he just can't get the kill. He can't get the trade, or he can't get the important impact kill that he needs to get. And just don't have him in those spots
Yeah.
then if you're going to keep him on the roster.
If
Give
we're
him the easy
talking-
kills.
If we're talking about them being cooked too, Osbus is, we mentioned it earlier, he's still in fucking China. Like, they're not scrimming.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't have time to turn around. Like, I think there is a 0% chance that this team makes it to champions or turns it around at all for this season. I think they are set up for failure because they have no time to scrim. They have no time to make a big change. Who's their new coach? How are they going to reinvent
Oh,
themselves?
by the way, they did
Who the
announce.
fuck knows?
They announced Itapata's getting promoted to head coach, and
Yeah.
then the TSM juvenile, I think,
Yeah,
the coach for a crew for Com way back when, that guy is stepping into assistant coach, which further to me shows the delineation between management and players. By the way, since there's no Latin American talent or Brazilian talent, just at all. Just weird to me. I don't know. It's just weird to me. You got to build around a core, and I don't think there's a core that they
No, I don't think.
are going for.
It's like the Holy Roman Emperor of teams,
Explain.
What the fuck does that mean?
fractured into a bunch of little
Oh yeah.
sects,
Uh-huh.
dysfunctional, not
Okay.
an empire, not that holy. There's no Romans
Not
on
Roman.
the team. I feel like it's pretty clear.
Yeah. Based analogy, actually. I want to move on to talk about our final topic here because we've got like 10 minutes to hit on this, and I feel like it's one that people have been looking forward
We
to.
can have like 15. I can push it a little bit.
All right. Okay. Well, then let's take our time with this one. It's FPX. Because FPX, we wouldn't normally be talking about a team like this. They're not the number one seed in China. They're not the team from China that actually made it the furthest. In fact, all of the Chinese teams kind of bombed out of the team in the tournament in China.
FPX
And yet-
did not bomb out. Don't you
No,
fucking
they didn't-
say that to my goats.
I mean, they finished 9th to 10th, though, didn't they? I
Nope.
mean, if you're just looking at standings, it's not that great. But
I'm
when we
not.
were doing,
I'm
we were
not.
doing like a power ranking, and we ended up power ranking them. I think 6th, maybe 7th, something around there, like way higher than they actually placed.
Sure.
Do you think they're better than EDG? Do you think they're the future for Chinese Valorant?
Yes, and I think 6 is reasonable. This team is so good. I think that I love the way they play Valorant. When I watched EDG this event, I saw a team that is just going through the motions. They are doing the thing they have done before. They are playing Valorant. When I watch FPX, every game they play, every comp they cook up, it feels like there is a reason that they do everything. And it's so different than what most other teams play like. But I think their ideas are actually really good and they execute on it so well. I think their triple controller stuff is really hard to play against, even if you have like prepped it, because their coordination is so good. I think that every piece of util they're using has clear reason. And also the individuals on this team are just sick. I think we've always known Life to be a top player, but this event we saw Ayung continue to be really good, and also like I think Berlin have his like best tournament ever. We've seen mid events before be kind of an be kind of back and forth, but here it really felt like he was channeling the energy and actually having crazy impact beyond just like being an IGL for this team. I don't think they're gonna like go on a run and win champions, but I think they are looking like the best team from China right now. And I think their unique style and just the way this team is playing together right now, they really look like the future for me. My stocks for FPX are super high coming out of this because again, they lost to the 2 finalists.
Yeah, and some of the games were close as well. I think
Crazy close.
I agree with what you're saying. I love their take on some of these maps. Like I'm telling you, their icebox is like one defensive setup away from being just like the best we've seen on icebox. Like their icebox is so good on attack. It's so hard to play against all of these one ways. It's literally it gets to the point where if they get B main, you've pretty much lost because there's just gonna be so many one ways on B that you literally can't play anywhere. So their attack is really, really nice. I think in an interview they said that their coach was just coming up with all of this stuff. I think that he's a beast, man. And their coach is
They
unbelievable.
change
No, it's
coach
still
coming into this
Nathan G.
year.
Yeah, it's still Nathan, right? Yeah.
Because I feel like last year when I was watching FPX, they still tried to do the same thing where they were coming up with unusual ideas, but they were so often just straight up worse than what the meta was. It was like they maybe it was because they didn't go far enough with it, where they were just tweaking like a couple things away from the meta comp, and they were just almost always just straight downgrades. I was thinking back to like they used to play the Haven with the Viper. The Viper setups were terrible. They'd play Lotus with the Viper. Viper setups were terrible. And now they're actually doing stuff that makes a lot of sense, and Berlin's not feeding. And I'm like, I don't understand what the catalyst was to this team playing much more sensible Valorant, even though they're playing unusual Valorant still.
I think it was like a matter of time, honestly. I think they rolled a bunch of different comps. They tried things. I think it's really hard to know what's good when you're one of these Chinese teams. I mean, we heard the feedback even from some of the teams who are playing in China. It's can't really get scrims outside the region sometimes. It can be hard to know what's actually good and what you're just like diffing on your fundamentals and your aim and stuff. So for the Chinese teams, it's always coming to these global events and it really being kind of your one chance to actually test things out against the best teams. And I think that here they found the right recipe and have actually like gotten the like finally rolled it right and had something that can hold up to international competition. But there is that question with big meta changes coming. Will they be able to do it again? I don't know, because I think there is equal potential that they hit some more banger ideas and they go on a run at champs as they go back to cooking a little too far, end up with a bad read going into the next event and bomb out.
I feel like they've always had relatively cool stuff. Like they've always been a fan of like the Astra Omen, and I always felt like that had a good amount of legs. But maybe Berlin had no discipline and would just go for the most mental plays we've ever seen. It was just like very Redgar-esque. So yeah, I think that this was the most disciplined I've ever seen him play. Like when it was Madrid, right, when they played against Louds, they should have beaten Loud on Icebox. Not saying the best of the three, but they should have won Icebox. And the reason they didn't win Icebox is mostly because of Berlin. Like 3v5 would always just run through his own one way or something like that and give him a kill. We rarely actually saw them like lose a lot of the advantages they had. The discipline levels, at least when I'm just looking at him, I feel like have definitely been like hard focused on, because I only saw him go for crazy plays when it was like I now need to make a crazy play to win the round, instead of it's a 3v5, let's like watch this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The player actually that was still doing that I was getting annoyed about was Life. I mean, on their defense side, he was playing the Clove as if it was a Reyna, just swinging constantly on defense. Even then whenever he would have the ult up, just trying to pop it, couldn't survive, getting run down. But the fact that they only had one player doing it rather than it was straight up like three of them doing it at some of the previous
it used
events.
to be a lot.
Just makes such an enormous difference to your chances of success. And they were still getting big performances out of these players. Best tournament that Berlin's played for sure.
And they're fun to watch. They're really fun to watch. That helps. But yeah, EDG had a shocker as well. Just to add that in. Like they actually, like season wise, they were looking kind of nice. I was actually starting to believe, to be honest. They looked like back to their old form, like 2023, like early, when they kind of looked kind of nice, and then they bombed out heavy. So yeah, I'm down to say the FPX are like the new faces, I think.
I've thought this for a little while now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a year at this point, although I don't think it can quite be a year. But it was probably since Champions, actually. Yeah, it was at the end of Champs. I've thought that the Chinese scene probably is not at a place to actually break out yet, because none of the teams look like they're ready to do so. EDG have kind of led the way in terms of showing that it's possible to have some good results, but for someone to have a true breakthrough event, it doesn't look like it's going to be EDG at this point. They're struggling with their own team identity. The team is saying that they struggle to actually improve within the Chinese region as well. And I feel like the other teams, like if you just take the two teams that were here, FPX and DRG, just being hampered so much by communication issues with having import players on the team of Autumn and Vukashu. And that's also the case throughout a lot of the other Chinese teams that are going to try to make it deep as well. Like, I'm waiting for one of the teams, maybe it can be Trace, but I'm waiting for one of the teams to actually look like they have the chance to break through and do something big. I don't think it's any of the teams that are currently at the top in China. They just don't seem set up for that next level.
I see that. I'm super interested in meta wise in the next few months for there to be, not something super solidified and like give a chance to an FPX who will cook the fuck out of some ISO comps and shit like that. but yeah, right now it's just not there. It feels like a lot of the Chinese teams built to contend in China immediately, and that's why they went for a lot of imports. That's why they did all this other stuff, but not for the international portion of things.
Sure.
With that being said, I the FPX performance here does give me hope that they could do something at champs to at least continue to prove that it's possible. Like you're saying, EDG did in prior years.
Yeah, top 5 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Just a little bit of a breakout because this one you kind of consider it that way with the win over Foot and then the challenging games against the finalists. But it's just not there yet. It's not that big playoff qual, that big huge win, knocking out a contender type of thing yet. Once they do that, then I mean it's just gonna be like the EDG story. I feel like for FPX, right? Which is you get that first win, then next event you improve and you improve and you improve and you improve.
And then you choke the event after that.
And then you fall apart and stagnate and whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude, the Chinese fans were so brutal. They're calling them erectile dysfunction gaming on the fucking like the Chinese fans are just absolutely brutal, man. Oh, I've kicked my capture card again.
What is crazy? I do want to like say this quick that like the Chinese scene, like the fans for these teams are insane. Walking around Shanghai, I saw more esports jerseys in the wild than I did in any other country I've ever been to. Like I would go for a walk and I saw multiple people with like EDG Hong Kong jerseys just walking out on the streets or on the metro, just in the wild. Like it is really ingrained in the culture. I also went to an LPL game while I was in China, and it's like the fandom for esports there is absolutely insane, and there's so much potential for it to grow. It's just, again, I think the issue is like not having the highest level of competition to scrim against and having to kind of play in such an insulated space that makes it really hard to consistently improve. But I am a big believer that it's a matter of time before we get a breakout run. I'm just not sure if we're there yet.
They don't need they could be insulated all they want, man. They're still gonna make fucking 10 fantastic teams in the next year just by virtue of not only they have a format advantage, man. They're qualifying 4 teams to champs from China, like compared to all the other different countries. There's no shot that they aren't good in the future. So that breakout performance is coming, Josh. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when. But to me, it looks a little further off. The viewership is also spectacular. I mean, half of the peak viewership of champs was Chinese viewership. It was like 1.4 versus 1.6 million or something. They put out the data before. I can't exactly remember what it was, but it was like straight up 40% plus of the peak viewership was Chinese viewership. We don't have the metrics for this one yet, but I'm sure Riot will be releasing them.
And that was for Madrid, you're saying?
That was it from Madrid? Oh shit, yeah, I just said champs, but I think it was Madrid. Yeah, that was from Madrid.
Then it's got to be dummy crazy now that it's on their time zone with like a team like a. Damn.
And there's no.
I would imagine the Western viewership went down though, right? Like I haven't checked the ES charts or something, but the Western viewership must have gone down because it was at a bad time zone and the teams weren't that clouted. But like Heretics must be more clouted after making it that deep and having the whole crowd rooting for them. They just took down all of the Chinese Valorant teams and like stole their fans as they went deeper and deeper into the tournament. That's a breakout for them, I think. It's pretty sick how global this game is, especially the like fan base that we've got in China and Japan is extraordinary.
Yeah. Western peak viewers was 900,000 for this event, which is a significant drop from the past.
And we had another tournament where it's like top 3 is one from Americas, one from EMEA, and one from Pacific. That's just so sick. That just doesn't happen really, and it keeps happening like consistently, really, into like a top 4.
Over and over. Yep.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, we just need to get China up there, and then once you have like all 4 regions competing at a super high level, then it'll be even more exciting. Well, that does it for us this week. Next week, there's so much to talk about, guys. Like, in theory, we could have done like a 5-hour podcast today, I swear to God. We've still got like the patch change, Abyss? Like, Abyss? Like, what am I talking about? Abyss. Abyss to be talking about as well. Valorant releasing on console, the like Pancada rejoining Loud, NRG with someone. There's so much stuff to talk about. But we're going to save that until next week when we can start to look at the other regions that are beginning their week 1 matches. But now that does it for this week, and we'll end on... Oh, wait a second. I've just thought, have we got a new intro for this one today, Kurt?
Yeah, I added one of them.
Oh, well then it's our most important segment of the week. It's Wyatt's Weekly Award.
Presenting Wyatt's Weekly Award here today on this week's episode, the Edgewall Innkeeper from Magic the Gathering Throne of Eldraine. You won't find note like that in the wilds.
Oh, that edit is spectacular, man.
Oh my God.
That edit is
I
spectacular.
just want to say while we're here, I want to give credit to Kurt for the fucking Josh gets dripped out edit. That might be the best thing I have ever seen. Just a
It's very
beautiful
good.
piece.
Thank you. Become a member and you can watch it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Sengim, Blitz, and Ramon have become members recently whilst watching. So there you
Welcome
go,
to
people in
member.
the chat.
Welcome,
You
member.
can now watch that video. But as for Wyatt's Weekly Award, this one I want to be a bit of a group project. I want us to get our heads together and actually agree on a tournament MVP. Because we were talking about it earlier, and I think the 3 primary candidates... I mean, Seth did mention Munchkin as well, actually. But for me, the primary candidates would be Meteor and Woot. A lot of people in the community were also saying Texture. Maybe Munchkin could be another name that you would throw in there. Sliggy, we didn't get your opinion earlier on. Who would you go for if you had a tournament MVP pick?
Personally, I would say Meteor. I've never seen him play anywhere near this good. Like he was responsible for so many big rounds. That's kind of where I'm at. Like individual performance wise, I've never seen him play even close to this level at an event, and I feel like that was a big difference maker. I definitely like Karen had a good standout, Munchkin, like all those people kind of performed well. But if we look at like the peaks before of all of these players, they were all like here and playing like around those peaks. Meteor was just up here to levels we've never seen before. So for me personally, I would say Meteor.
Yeah. Well, I was very torn as well. Mimi, you went for Meteor. Right?
I did, but I think for the Wyatt's Weekly Award, I think we should give it to Woot. Just putting it in context, right? Like what he did, coming in on
That's
a
why it's Weekly
completely
Award,
different
Josh.
role,
Come on now.
coming in on a different role on a team that everyone doubted the whole time, with a substitute coming in, and then being clearly, if you're excluding the finals, the highest performing player of it. And I think in terms of a team going on a run, the most impactful individual one player for a team to go on a run. I don't think that Team Heretics could have achieved anything close to what they did this event if it were not for Woot. So I think we should give him the award.
Fully agreed, but also, can we delineate tournament MVP and finals MVP? It's just
yeah.
because
Meteor
tournament
finals MVP,
MVP
clearly.
means everything up to the finals. Because otherwise, it
It should include the finals.
No,
It should be the whole tournament.
No, because then it's all fucked by the end. Because I don't know, man. The finals is so important that like the waiting just changes everything.
Let me get involved. What about the coaches? The coaches have some kind of goated stories. We got Solo doing unreal, hasn't won a tournament in like 14 years. You got HSK from DFN, no wins from last year, coming in to win a big tournament. They did pretty sick, and they anti a lot.
HSK might
for
deserve
MVP,
the
bro.
award. Because also for like
Yeah,
Solo,
for the Wyatt Weekly Award, bro. You said
no,
this
for the
yourself.
award,
It's
for the
Wyatt's
award,
Weekly
though,
Award.
because I was talking to Seth about this. Solo was a later add to the team. To my understanding, I think HSK did most of building the Gen.G roster.
He did build the team. He scouted and built the team, but that doesn't mean that he's doing all of the coaching now.
Yeah, that's true. But still, scouting and the storyline.
Scouting
not winning a
Karen's
match.
pretty sick, but
Not
I
winning
mean,
a match to winning a global tournament. But
So
also
the way to win
winning a-
awards is just to
Dude,
tank a
this is
season
awesome.
and then
Bro.
be good.
Josh, they've just completely ignored your hosting capabilities.
I know.
You asked them to vote for MVP, and here they are like,
just-
oh,
we're
Wyatt's
just throwing
Weekly Award.
ideas
out.
It's Edgewall Innkeeper. Pick your Wyatt's Weekly Award.
My Wyatt's Weekly Award winner is gonna be Meteor. I think he was the tournament MVP. I was gonna go for Woot, but I'm afraid in my opinion, he choked. I know that there are different controversial opinions about
to
that.
be honest, you
I think
kind
he
of wiped me
choked.
down in that argument. He kind of choked.
So,
I got fucking wiped out of that shit.
so I'm going to give it to Meteor. I think he did play fantastically. I echo what Sliggy said earlier as well. Thank you for joining us for episode 179. Appreciate it. Again, next week we're going to be talking about a ton of other shit as well. And we're going to have to get somebody on who plays console. Yeah, thank you for all of the members, and go and check out Factor as well, who are the sponsors of this episode. And yeah, we'll see you next time. That's such a good edit, man. It's so good. I need it. I need to play Magic on stream one time so I can use that as a thumbnail. That's the only reason that I
I know
play
you
Magic
never
on
touch your
stream.
Twitter, but I think you should just update that to be your profile picture instead
Yeah,
of
you really
heads
should.
up.
Yes.
I can send it
All
to
right.
you.
Yeah, thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Boy.
Bye.